in the world. He's what? He's 50.
I don't know. He's 160 or something.
The guy, I never. Yeah, you don't want to run with the guy.
Yeah.
Wasn't he a Navy decathlete in the 80s?
The SISMs team. Was he one of the SISMs?
I think so.
I don't know. I know he did the Raid Galas when those first came out, like those Eco Challenge before the Eco Challenge.
That's right.
The Raid Gala. Yeah, he was an amazing athlete.
And he would love that we're talking about him on a podcast, right?
Yeah. Oh no, we're gonna have him on because Kirk. So for everyone, one of the first times my wife met Kirk, they tell this story about Subic Bay. Subic Bay was
thanks, bro.
Subic Bay was a naval base that's been long shut down, but the SEALs used to deploy there in the Philippines. And what?
Here's the stop.
I saw a drop.
Is it dripping?
I'm good.
Okay. I like 3 drops a second.
He's 1 drop a second.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to make mine last the whole time.
Well, I'm just going to rip this bitch out
the story is if they told this story, and we'll get Bruce in here, they would shut down the SEAL teams because there was a volcano going on.
There'll probably be
This
some
is a movie.
retroactive
Investigations.
if we tell too many stories.
Don't put it past NCIS. They will come after you, dude.
What,
They got-
after the fact?
Oh, NCIS came after me on the day I retired over the stupidest thing. They threatened to raid my house.
Or what was it? Because you
Yeah.
had,
I'll have
Were
to
you
tell
wearing
that
a
story
MAGA hat or
later.
something?
They came after me too, by the way.
wait a minute. Did you have a copy of Biden's daughter's diary?
No.
Did you read about that one today?
Hey,
No.
no potties. No,
Oh my.
no potties.
No politics here.
No, I'm just saying
It's
it's
not
not. It's not political. I'm just saying that was on. That was a big news piece I read
Yeah.
this
Well,
morning.
actually,
Someone got fired.
your rival was in the news lately, Stanford, for having the conservative judge. But funny, like Cal and Stanford like argue with each other, but you guys are both the same.
No, well, that's not true. Sam Harris was on Lex Friedman recently. He's a Stanford guy, and I was very 4 hours of listening to a podcast of that was beyond nauseating. So, and he's a Stanford guy.
He's fallen far.
Well, I think COVID broke some people's brains, and his got shattered into a million pieces. And then the weird justification of like some of the things he was talking about were, and then the problem is I like to think that the greatest form of neuroplasticity and just education and growth is being able to pivot and admit when you're wrong. And I've realized being married, like the secret to being married is being like, I'll take blame for this. I'm wrong on this one. You're totally right. I'm
Even
wrong.
even if you're not wrong, this is not a
happy
man thing. Yeah.
I realize that apologizing is like, even when sometimes you're like, I might not be wrong, but I'm just going to apologize just to keep making sure everything keeps moving.
I think that's more strategic and integrity
battles.
and morals than neuroplasticity.
Well,
Neuroplasticity, he's probably optimizing, doing all the meditation that he's doing now,
Right.
but it's taking him in the wrong direction.
well,
The
I
ability
think
to change behavior.
Right.
Right.
It's the ability to form new thoughts and think of things in a
But
different way in your
to be
brain,
able
which
to,
is
like,
which is a neurophysical thing.
yeah, but I mean, isn't that neuroplasticity? Step away and be like, I was really wrong. I misread the situation. I said a lot of ugly things, and you know what? I was wrong. And I'm
I
sorry.
think that's
No,
just
that's a
that's
behavior.
just introspection.
Isn't
Yeah, that's a behavior. That's right.
Yeah.
Or
So
is that-
he could change that behavior if he was more neuroplastic.
Yeah.
He could engage in.
If you're
activities to
so
become
that's a
a
great
person.
example. If you're incapable of introspection, the only way you would ever become capable is to increase your neuroplasticity at his age or like our age. You get anywhere like over
But he's a Stanford
40-ish.
guy, so it means.
But that's not enough. It's not enough just to become more neuroplastic. You have to set the time aside and say, okay, I'm going to evaluate my behaviors and figure out.
well, and that's
what I'm wrong about,
that's
what
what
I'm
all
right
that's what
about.
all the psychedelics do, right? So all the psychedelics drastically increase neuroplasticity, and ibogaine more than any of them, and it lasts for like 6 to 9 months, and it decreases
There we go.
anxiety and all that stuff.
In fact, for next week, let's talk about psychedelics. Let's
Are
see
we
if
going to do
can get-
ibogaine on the podcast?
We need a 9-hour podcast.
So let's see
How-
if we
is that how
can
long it
get
lasts?
somebody on the podcast. But so you know
I know-
psychedelics
I know-
well.
I
You've
know
done it.
plenty
I've
of-
done it.
I know plenty of people
Yeah.
in the area that we could
So-
go.
yeah,
so
I do too. No better.
Ibogaine would. You know what, Men's Journal, we're going to do this. Would you guys be up for Ibogaine? Have you not done it yet?
No.
Oh, you got to do it.
Can't do that on a podcast.
Yeah, well, you can go do it on a separate just video. We can all go to Mexico. Would you guys be up for that?
We're gonna
Just to film the entire thing?
do a documentary out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro,
I did-
you've
I
got to do it. You've got to do it once. This would be my second time. Your second time.
Yeah.
Your
I
second
should do it.
time.
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, Doc.
I just was talking to him
Yeah,
about
he-
it last week.
Yeah, Doc called me. He's like, "Have you thought ever about doing this?" And I'm like, no. It just
It's not for everybody.
It's
not for
rough,
everybody.
but I'm going to tell you, it was a wake up. It's like again, I don't know what a hard drive feels like when it gets wiped, but it was like your brain is wiped and it triggers areas of your brain. It was just the most surreal experience. And it's, hey, I stopped dipped for 19 years, stopped dipping after that.
Yeah.
It would.
I want to add this. It wipes your brain of the things that you want to get rid of,
Yes.
but it doesn't wipe your brain of the things that you want to keep.
It'd be fascinating to see you afterwards. So, what the science of it shows is that it basically increases all neurotransmitters simultaneously, right? So every neurotransmitter in your brain is greatly upregulated, but it allows regions of your brain to communicate that have never communicated probably since you were born, or maybe since you were in utero. But the amygdala, our alarm system that causes anxiety, causes our alertness, makes us pay attention to certain things, and in some sense drives us down a pathway to behave in a certain way to any type of trigger, like visual, auditory, whatever. That amygdala tone, that's what gets in your way. That's what causes anxiety. That's what causes you to be rigid. That's what causes you to be fear-based. That's what causes you to be protective of everything. And it's overused in modern society. And Ibogaine decreases that by like 90%. All the psychedelics do is just for a different amount of time. So Ibogaine, as you guys have done it, no, it will show you your life from a third or fourth person perspective, and you can watch yourself do things and reevaluate things in a way that's not emotional. You're not judging yourself. You're just looking at it as if you're watching a movie and it's somebody else. Now you have some awareness that that's something you need to work on. Whereas if you're fear-based, your limbic system is protective. It'll shut it off. It's like, you'll feel anger, but you won't know why you're angry. So you're just going to express your anger and you're going to go out by your day and you'll just know that you had an angry period. You don't know why. This will show you, like, this is why you got angry in that situation, because, you thought this and it reminded you of that back there and this, and you get to see it. Now you have the opportunity, because you have this really plastic brain, has all sorts of these growth factors that allows you to grow new neurons. Your thoughts actually grow your neurons, right? So when you think a certain way, it causes neurons to grow in certain directions and connect to other things. So you can shape your brain with your thoughts. So this gives you an opportunity to actually do that.
John, I'll put it to you this way. When they say, hey, it's going to take about 45. And so, I mean, they do everything beautifully. So they've got cardiac docs there. They've got nurses. You're on EKGs. Mm-hmm. Everything is well run. It's so professionally. And the setting is key. What I would hate is for somebody to take Ibogaine or any other psychedelic in a bad setting. So they've got lights on the ceiling. They got music. They've got nurses there. And they put Ibogaine into a capsule based off your weight. So you're actually going to have to take like a huge capsule, and we're going to have to force it down your throat.
Good thing I can unhinge on John like a snake.
We're going to have to do yours with a funnel.
Yes.
A
beer
that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I got a funny story about that.
So
I'll tell you a funny story about that.
So they take it, they're like, hey, 45 minutes to an hour, you'll start to feel the effects. And I get to an hour. I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling anything. And then all of a sudden it hits hard. And I'm like, I would like to get off this ride now. I've changed my mind.
Did the buzzing
I want my
start?
money back.
The drones.
Oh, it started.
So I had a buddy that was living over in Europe, working for the World Bank, and we would go over and visit him in Amsterdam. And we ended up at this place called Barney's Uptown, and we ate a pretty large heroic dose of psilocybin mushrooms, fresh ones.
First time?
First time. We went over the first time we did it, and we were sitting in this restaurant that it was really killer. Like this. If you guys have ever been to Amsterdam, it's a place called Barney's Uptown. It's like there's like a DJ. They have cool drinks. There's food. All of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, I'm in Tatooine at the Star Wars bar, and I'm like, "Did you ever? You guys?
I know what you're talking about."
Yeah, like I'm literally in Tatooine at the Star Wars bar, and we're like, right. So then we ended up walking all through Amsterdam and the canals and this, and had like a pretty epic adventure. Went back the next year, did it again. Ended up at the Van Gogh Museum, wandering around for 3 hours looking for Starry Night, only to realize that Starry Night was not in Amsterdam, even though it was on the buses. It was in New York. So, I mean, had some interesting adventures with psilocybin, and always had a very good time with it. So I don't know on the psychedelic front, like, because I remember Doc saying, Ibogaine, like if you've done other psychedelics, might not have as dramatic effect.
This is my philosophy, but I'm not sure if it's true.
Well, first off, Amsterdam, did you hear that Amsterdam has had enough? They're enacting laws to bring the party vibe down.
Oh, it went a little crazy.
The citizens are no longer tourism is their number one. industry, but
it's set up for something. So like every time you go over a canal, there is the most amazing pastry shops. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't been there.
Oh, you've never been there? There's like these pastry shops that imagine like 4 or 5 like of these huge like glass things that are all refrigerated with the most amazing pastries. And it's basically because people get high and then they walk and they have these lights and you look over and you're like, look at all these pastries. I'm not like a big eater in that way. Like, there are people like house and shit. I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm just more happy to watch people eating it. But we had some pretty amazing, like cool deal. But the weird part was the Hells Angels kind of run protection. So like all of a sudden we were sitting there like
Hells Angels Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah,
On.
so that's
do they have like little scooters and they ride around with their vests?
no, they're like legitimate badass like 1%er bikers.
So I shouldn't be making fun of them because
no, HA's whatever. But they kind of run protection. So we were hanging out at this bar, kind of watching, and they just walked down, and there's all these little dudes selling drugs and like North African guys probably selling crushed up glasses, cocaine, weird shit. And they just go and just started throwing dudes in the canals. They just like walked down and just cleansed it of all these like urchins and just fucking hammered through and threw all these dudes in the canals.
This is like the Rolling Stones concert of
and they just walked through it and they cleaned it. Yeah. And then all those dudes were gone. And a couple hours later, I'm sure they all came back, but they just like, that's how they patrolled it. And it was we definitely set some really cool adventures there.
All right. So you guys do this every time. I feel like I'm a SEAL troop commander again. I'm like, okay, hey guys, we need to do this. And you guys just keep talking and do what you want. I'm like, good talk here. Yeah. We are hooked up to IVs.
Yes.
And so let me, the spiel one, this is Austin. So we're being supported by MSW Lounge. Our intravenous IV therapy treatments are designed to help you hydrate, boost your immune system, and provide you essential vitamins and minerals. So that if you're, and we know this is the bachelorette, like capital of the US, if you're here, you get drunk on Friday or Saturday night, you need an IV, call MSW Lounge. But Doc, walk us through what's running through our veins besides the Deca Durabolin. I'm joking.
And the Sotil.
I'm joking.
Yeah. So primarily it's there's a bunch of B vitamins in there to include B12. There's also something called glutathione in there, which is a methylating agent. A lot of people have heard of
methylating, like layman terms.
This MTFHR thing that people talk about. I can't detox well. Well, that's because you don't methylate well. So glutathione helps people.
Isn't that a genetic deal for people that are from like north?
There's genetic SNPs for it, which I don't want to get into because I don't believe most of it, to be honest.
Oh, you don't?
But,
so the idea that certain people from certain parts of the world don't methylate B vitamins?
I would believe it if it wasn't like 70 to 80% of every client I've ever had tested for it has turned out to be, some sort of mutation. You need to make sure you're taking, activated B vitamins. I'm not so sure on that. Okay. It's like sleep apnea. It's like 80% of people go get a sleep test have sleep apnea. Well, if 80% of people have it, it would be normal, right? Right. So it's something that definitely is true. There's definitely some medical diseases associated with lack of ability to methylate. And that's just basically, you can think of it as detoxing. It's a way of getting things out of your body to where your body can process, your liver can process things, and you can get things out of your body. The most powerful thing in here, it's kind of the biggest thing I think going right now in the biohacking world is NAD. This is NAD plus. So that's the oxidized form. The non-oxidized form doesn't matter. I'm going to stop at it. Okay,
but most people say anti-aging.
No, what's
yes,
that's right.
NMN?
Yeah, so NMN is a precursor, NR is a precursor. So basically niacin is B3, and then you can put the R on it. That's intermediate, that stands for ribose. Then there's an NMN, and then there's NAD. And what NAD is a cofactor for lots of enzymatic reactions. And it's actually substrate for certain reactions. So what it does is it kind of regulates the mitochondrial. So if you think about your cells are all a smaller version of you, right? So we think of ourselves as a human. I have a liver, I have a heart, I have lungs, and right. Well, a cell, and I take in oxygen, I take in food, I produce waste, I produce carbon dioxide. All my cells are the same thing, but instead of having organs, they have organelles, right? And those organelles do things. They create proteins, they create receptors, they produce energy like mitochondria. And NAD is required for all of that activity. So it's sort of like the coordinator. The ATP is the energy itself, but like who's directing the show, NAD is a big player in that, and it activates something called SIRT genes, which leads to sirtuins, which are enzymes that regulate age, our aging of our cells, our mitochondrial health, how fast our mitochondria turn over. There's something called senescent cells, which are old cells that are doing nothing. Like think of it like senile. They're just like sitting around crying. They release this thing called CD38 that competes for NAD, takes away our NAD, and we age faster. Our mitochondria don't work as well. We don't have as much energy. Our cells don't repair as well. We don't repair as fast. So you have to have the hormones. You have to have the nutrients inside of your cell, but the genes that are expressed are controlled by epigenetics. Epigenetics is controlled by sirtuins, and NAD is affecting that essentially. So you can have like a younger epigenetic expression. When you're 20, you have about twice as much NAD as you have when you're 50. So we think that it's one of the reasons that young people heal faster, recover from exercise faster, all that type of stuff.
So is NAD, and I know you can take it via an IV. I know companies are now selling it for subcutaneous, injections. Are they starting to give it to younger people as well for healing?
The
purposes?
research on humans is very, very infantile right now.
What are we talking?
So
NAD came onto the market the last 3-5 years.
No. I mean, the research. So David Sinclair is kind of the first one who made it popular, but the research has probably been going on for 15 years or 20 years or something like that. But you always have to start in petri dishes, essentially, see how it affects cells. Then you move to, bacteria and worms and things, and then you go to something like mice, and you eventually get to humans. And so we just kind of started getting into human stuff.
So everything we didn't do with the COVID virus or vaccine, we skipped all those steps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm joking.
Oh, I know.
That's we just lost half our listeners, guys. I'm joking.
The problem is NAD itself is really big. It's a huge molecule, and we don't think it gets into the cells that well. So IVs flood the bloodstream and give you a big opportunity for that. I don't know how well the IM works. I don't know how well intramuscular injection. I don't know how well that works. I don't know how well the subcutaneous would work. And pills would definitely not work. But,
can I tell you? Have you tried subcutaneous?
What? NAD?
NAD.
No, I've ever. The only time every time I've done NAD, it's always been through an IV.
So I've tried it subcutaneous.
All the research I've never seen what Doc is saying about like it's big. The only way to get it in is the bloodstream. I don't think you could get it through the muscle, and I know you couldn't get it through the gut.
Oh no! So I tried subcutaneous.
It was painful.
You can feel it.
Really?
Within,
What do you
depending
feel?
on the you feel the. So if you're not feeling it now, this is what I've noticed with NAD Plus is I feel it in the chest, and again, how quick the drip is. But I've also seen where I knew I had sort of a nasal congestion, and it made it even worse when I was on the IV. But 30 minutes after,
Clean
my
it
nasal, gone. But
I
I've seen a
feel
lot of
like,
people
I feel like
they
we're in a
have heart
sauna
attack.
right now. I feel like I'm in
You're
a
still
sauna.
hot?
Yeah, so do I. So
Like
do I.
my feet are freezing.
I'm sweating.
Yeah, no, I feel like fine. My toes are
Well,
cold.
what's the AC at right now? 66?
I am getting a nice little tricep shot there with my massive meat arm.
Yeah, I like that.
You're like, hey, look at that thing.
Hey, Michelle, tell Michelle to come in.
I'm gonna crank mine out if I feel something. So,
Yeah,
Mike, you feel like a weight on your chest?
I like to
Feels
run
like a
mine
heaviness?
fast. I like to do
So-
three,
so
three
you
second
just
or 3
increased it,
drips
yeah.
a second.
See if you
I've been
feel
doing a slow drip. I didn't want to throw up or something. This is my first time trying
and
this
you can
stuff.
slow that drip, but there's
That's
times
what all
I've
the sales say.
looked.
This is my first time. I've never done this before.
So how much
I'm that
NAD
type
do
of
we
girl.
plus, or how much NAD plus do we have right now? 250.
My guess would have been a gram, but we could be as low as 250.
So I did 500.
Those are rookie numbers. Need to bump that shit
Yeah, I
up.
know.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Especially for this guy. Did 500, and they started, and I'm like, you felt it. And some people are like, oh man, it feels like I'm having a heart attack.
Okay.
But you're like,
no,
hey, could you slow that down though?
But you're kind of sensitive to stuff. Like, didn't like the
Sensitive mic.
semaglutide like light you up? Like, I mean, you're like well, I think certain people are more sensitive to, and I don't mean sensitive in terms of like you're emotionally sensitive.
oh
Because you're obviously broken
I'm emotionally
inside.
sensitive to what you're indicating.
No,
right now,
I'm
so-
just saying certain people, and you can ask Doc this. Certain people take a painkiller, and like it doesn't. Like for me, if I take one painkiller, I'll lay on the floor. Like I can have like a drink and feel bombed. I think other people like, they can
What
have a
about
dozen
Flexerol?
drinks. Flexerol? Yeah, like any of that stuff. Like, even
Hit you hard?
if I were to, well, only if you ask. Like when I go to surgery, they give me way too much anesthetic, and I don't wake up for like 3 hours. So I always tell them, I'm like, yo, I'm super sensitive. So they give me like half the dose they should, and I wake up in the right time. So I just wonder if like you're just like, like respond really quick to stuff.
Are you trying to use a word that starts with a B?
I can't believe I'm trying to pay you a compliment,
Yeah.
and you're
Your
not.
system is so pure. You are.
You're a fast responder, is what I'm saying.
I've got it.
You're not dead inside like Doc.
Funny enough, when I got wounded, and guys, we have Sotol here.
Yeah,
Try it. And this is brown.
Yeah, it's 100 proof. So this is aged in an oak barrel for a year.
It kind of has a bourbon taste to it.
Yeah, so it gets that from
We're
the oak
drinking
barrel.
and we got IVs. I love it.
But it's
We're gonna let them battle it out, man.
So I remember when I got wounded, our corpsman had redeployed a week earlier. And if you remember, we were using morphine, not fentanyl at that time. It was 06. He signed it's because it's a controlled substance. We're like, yeah, we've only got a few more ops. Here you go, man. Well, we ended up in a bad scenario, got wounded. I had 30 holes in the legs, and I go to my little pocket and there's no morphine. I'm like, fuck. So we're in a firefight. We get back, it takes us about 30, 45 minutes to get back to a aid station. And I'm in pain. They hit me with morphine. And this was like, I feel bad. Like I want to find the person that was like I grabbed. And it was the lamest thing I've ever done. I grabbed them by the, their scrubs, pulled them in. And I'm like, I'm a Navy SEAL. You need to ramp that shit up. And like how gay, just lame that sounds.
No, I don't think that's lame at all. I think you should have a T-shirt with that. Hey, step back. I'm a Navy SEAL. I can handle a lot more.
Did
than
they give
this.
you more?
Oh, they with a shrewd look on her face, she hit me, and I'm like,
Okay, it was effective.
yeah. It just
You're gonna wake up on the vent. Here you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, here you go. Go to sleep.
We did the same thing because I was wounded with a buddy, which was the greatest thing in the world because I had
Yes,
misery
yes,
loves
somebody.
company. We go to
Misery loves
Germany.
miserable company.
Yes,
Actually.
we go to Germany, and there was this older lady that she was like, "Hey, we're not feeling the morphine." She was just a mother hen, and she came in and she hit both her IVs, and we were puking within
Jesus.
like 50. Like she just hit it hard.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, "There you go, boys."
That wasn't her first
Yeah.
rodeo.
Yeah,
So
so-
know how to handle boys like you.
But so
Shut the fuck up.
So there's no proven data that if you take NAD plus right now, that you're going to slow the aging process.
No,
In his lifespan,
no,
though, Keith does make that kind of
I think
claim.
it's health span. Health span's well proven. Now is it proven IV versus IM versus sub-Q? I don't know. I'm not that up to date on the research, but what I can tell you is that NMN, the precursor to this, which you can buy over the counter, that has definitely shown to increase NAD inside of muscle cells. That's been proven in humans, which should correlate to more, a higher functioning muscle cell. So whatever you do, if you do endurance activity, it should improve that. If you're a strength trainer, strength training athlete, it should improve that. But health span is basically how long can you do the things you want to do,
Okay.
right? And so like, if you get to be 80 and you can't do anything anymore and you live another 90, you live
Sounds
another
awful.
10 years, that last 10 years wasn't health span, that was lifespan.
Right.
And
I
so
think that sounds terrible.
these are all,
Let's talk about that.
I
And we,
think
and
I
we
think
remember
biohacking
when,
in general is about health span and not necessarily lifespan.
when Brent is in the room, let us know.
But Kirk,
Okay.
I'm with you, Doc.
it sounds like the
I wanna
scientific community's still hasn't come to.
Well, they're still
same
figuring
page.
out, like the problem is like anything else. We're talking about one molecule among 658 trillion other molecules that are all interacting simultaneously. It's overwhelmingly complex. So there's going to be some downstream effect that we don't understand. There's going to be some better way to do it that we don't understand. So we're in the infancy of it. We do know that having more NAD in your cells is better. There is some suspicion, and there's been some trials done that it's possible in excess because of the way it's affecting mitochondria. Mitochondria is a key factor in cancer. There is some concerns that excess NAD could increase cancer growth if you already have cancer.
Is
Not
it
that it's
already
causing
have,
cancer
or it's within the family. There's a higher likelihood for
the cancer.
yeah.
No, yes, if you already have it, like
You
if
already
you
have it.
like, that's all we know so far is like if you already have it, then it can bind receptors that are similar. And this was done in breast cancer, something called a triple negative breast cancer, which we have a hard time treating because there's not that many places we can get anything and to bind to. And this concentrated a lot in that breast tissue. So there's some concern that might accelerate because it's essentially uprating metabolism, right? So like when we eat food, what we eat gets what we call partitioned. It either goes to making energy, it gets stored somewhere, it goes to being fat. That fuel partitioning is determined in a sense by things like NAD, right? Like how well it's a metabolic regulator. It's like how well are you using things, like how well are you uptaking glucose, or how much glycogen are you storing, or so NAD can be regulating all of that. So if you're putting more energy into a cancer cell, yeah, the odds are that you could be increasing the cancer.
His is a little more fatty. This is just mass. But look, you see the.
Are you flexing?
I'm not flexing. No, it's just relaxed.
Well, you've got
Who's got? Honestly, who's got? I mean, he's got the
That's a
mass.
massive arm.
You've got
You're
to-
dealing with a lineman.
you've got to read his blog, 20-inch arms in 30 days. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But you got to do
not.
You got
It's
to,
just 6 minute abs in
No,
30 days.
but you have to start with 19
Combine it,
19 and a half inch arms.
together for that measurement?
I need more days. Dude, where it came from was when I was playing, I had dumbbells like upstairs in my bedroom, but I also had them downstairs by the couch. And if I was watching TV, when the commercials came up, I'd just go do curls. And then like it just became this like kind of funny thing where I was like, because when you play on Sundays and like the jerseys are cut, we're out there, and like I was like, oh, I'm watching myself on TV. I want to have big jacked arms. And so,
but don't they say like for the NFL players, like the worst thing they can do is look in the mirror?
What?
I've heard that is like it's not about what you look; it's about power. It's about
if I'm wearing white spandex in front of millions of people every Sunday, I want to look the part.
Did you go the half cut jersey or no?
No, we had to tuck things in, but I had my jersey tailored in such a way that you could see my abs through the jersey. But
I'm not faulting you. I'd probably do the same thing.
I have always had pretty good vascularity in my arms, so I have this permanent bicep vein that you could actually see on film. And to this day, it was funny. Luke Pettigrew played for the Giants. It was funny. I ran into somebody I know, and he's like, "Well, we're still got that bicep vein. I'm so jealous of that bicep vein." I'm like, "Yeah, I got the bicep vein." But so that's the way it started, and I just would do this curl thing. So somebody asked me, they're like, "Man, you have some nice arms," and I was like, "Well, every time a commercial came up, I just do curls." So we wrote this article. I put it out. It was like a free program, just like how to get 20-inch arms in 30 days. The caveat was it's good to start with 19-inch arms, but it can help for a lot of people. And it went viral. And like, it's still funny. I run into people all the time. It's like, God damn it. I ended up getting tendonitis in my elbows. I was doing so many curls. Like, how much TV were you watching?
Yes.
Don't watch that much fucking TV.
Now, in reality, wouldn't it be smarter to work on the tricep, since that's like 2/3 of the mass of the
100%.
arm? Yeah.
But the secret to having a big bicep is actually the brachialis. So the hammer curls of the brachialis, what it does is it sits underneath and actually pushes up and gives the bicep an appearance of this. Now you can have big triceps, obviously, on the backside, but that like thickness across comes in the brachialis. That's why we did all the hammer curls.
for larger arms, focus on the tricep, then bicep.
So hammer curls and then triceps. So you want the brachialis to like have like more mass this way, because it sits underneath. So that's why we do a lot of heavy hammer curls. And then there's a lot of tricep.
Did your wife ever look at you and you're like, God, you're so vain? No.
It's so veiny.
No, vain.
We call him the bat
Vain,
wing.
as in vain.
No, my wife is actually hilarious.
His wife is ripped.
Dude, you've never seen my wife?
She's shredded.
So I've let me throw this beyond this. I've thrown out the concept of like, we're going to have one wife on the show per live session where we just get the truth about the
Everyone honest.
Everyone except me, but and like Brandy for like
so here's hilarious. My wife trained, or like, so Harry Shaw is one of my coaches. He has a Lakeway Fitness over in Lakeway, and so my wife trains over there a few days a week, and they're doing like a fitness challenge, like kind of a deal, like a team thing. Like, so they have like this idea where you wear like a heart rate monitor and you have to do X amount of like time in this zone, and it's pretty complicated. but they had to do a DEXA scan and then take pictures like before and after. So my wife, she trains and rides horses and does all of her stuff. So she went for the DEXA scan and she posted her picture in the DEXA scan. And she's like, my pants are feeling a little tight. So I decided to do this challenge. I want to get back into shape. Her DEXA scan was 14% body fat.
Which is in competitor range for
females.
Which
is she's already in contest shape to go step on stage.
Yeah.
And so my buddy Arash, one of the BJJ guys I work with, he's like, I saw your wife's post. And I was like, what'd you think? He's like, it reminds me of those posts when people talk about, I needed to make the second $1 billion so I could make sure that everybody in the family had a jet. And he's like, it's like your wife's post was like, I need to make the second billion. He's like, who says your before picture is like 14%? And so she, last time they did the challenge, she got down to 10% body fat. And like, it was the type of thing, I remember we went to like a wine tour in Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
And she was like kind of walking around, like people were coming up. It was hilarious. She's like asking her fitness advice at this winery thing. And like, people were like talking to her, these women, like, I was like, you're over there, like a sewing circle of women asking you all these questions. But yeah, she's in phenomenal shape.
And so I've seen pictures of Harash. That guy looks like a Iranian American, right?
Yeah.
Looks like a freak. We'll have to have him on.
Yeah,
hey guys, we've got Brent in the waiting room. I guess my drip was on super
full
fast.
Yeah.
So hit me again. So let's bring him in. Throw him up on screen.
What's up, guys?
Okay. Brent, what's going on, man?
You tell me. It looks like the party is where you're at, not where I'm at.
So yeah, we're all on IVs, guys. So Brett and I did a podcast. I a month and a half ago.
Yeah,
it was a great conversation on his perspective of winning. But guys, so Brent, I always say the lead singer of Shinedown. I know some people say the lead vocalist. You guys got an upcoming tour.
Yeah.
The Planet Zero album is off the charts right now. I mean, but listen to some of these accolades across the spectrum for Shinedown. So Brent, Zach, Eric, and Barry have 6.5 billion global streams, 19 number one rock hits, 15 platinum and gold singles, platinum or gold certifications for every album, 10 million albums sold worldwide in major media praise. They're also the number one on Billboard for greatest of all time mainstream rock artist charts.
Wow.
Judd, what the fuck have you done?
None of this.
Just Navy SEAL and serial entrepreneur.
God damn. I played a song for my wife on her anniversary one year. She liked it a lot.
Yeah.
It was piano.
What was the name of the song?
I was going to say I like to think that there's certain songs that people should never cover. And one of them was Leonard Skinner's Simple Man.
Oh.
And Shinedown fucking melted
the
that
only
down.
one. Yeah.
I have a crazy story about it in that we were in Daytona Bike Week years ago for my buddy who builds bikes, Billy Lane, and we rode up to this like little like crappy biker bar like an hour away up in like Ormond Beach, and on the marquee it said like Van Zandt Band, and we went in. And it was Leonard Skinner playing their warm up because they were going to play on the beach in Daytona for like 100,000 people the next night. So like me and my buddy and like 10 actually smash bikers got to hear Leonard Skinner play their warm up. And when they played Simple Man, I'd heard the song, but I never like heard the lyrics, and like left with like one of the greatest performances I've ever heard that I got to be a part of. So these guys melted it, man. So I mean, big ups.
Brent is close with the family, but Brent, you guys have a tour coming up. Let's talk about, because you know this, Life on the Road, NFL. Brent, you guys kick off when? April 3rd, right?
Yeah, Saginaw, Michigan, April 3rd. Saginaw always gets the shaft for whatever reason because of like Grand Rapids, Detroit, and the area and what have you. So we thought we'd kick it off in Saginaw. And tour's almost sold out all the way through, which is pretty incredible and still mind-blowing. So yeah, man, it starts April 3rd.
Who you guys going out on the road with?
So we're really, really fortunate that we get to bring our dear friends 3 Days Grace, talking about the accolades on rock radio. Ourselves and 3 Days Grace, we actually hold the most number ones of any artist on the chart. So it's almost a decade from when we toured together last time. Back in the day, we went out in 2012, 2013 together. So it's been a minute. So we got 3 Days Grace on the tour with us and a brand new band called From Ashes to New that we're really excited to show people.
So all in all, how long are you guys on the road, dude?
So right now we go from April 3rd to May 9th. And then we've got some specific promotion stuff that we're doing in June, because we have 2 songs working on 2 different charts right now. We have Dead Don't Die on Rock Radio, and we have A Symptom of Being Human. That's actually working specifically at Hot AC and Top 40 right now. So there's a bunch of stuff between basically June and July. And then we're setting up a pretty massive tour right now for September and October.
What I'd be interested is, so basically it sounds like 1 month on the road, month and change. What do you pack out for that? Are you like one large bag? What are you bringing on the tour? For I'm the one in the band that some people think is a bit strange or a bit of an anomaly. I am a real life gypsy. I don't steal, though. No offense to gypsies. So what I pack is everything that I have in my life. So one big bag, one carry-on, that's all I take. Because I live in hotels and I rent cars. I had a house in California from 2011 to 2016. I was never home, so I sold it in 2016. I haven't had a home since. So I kind of bounce around all over the place. That's actually a good life, man.
I know lots of guys like that, actually.
Yeah. You? No, I'm joking.
Well, I was going to say, like, if are you married with kids?
I'm not married, never have been, but I have a 15-year-old son who is my entire world. He actually is in Winter Springs, Florida. Me and his mother are great co-parents. He has a younger brother by 7 years. But yeah, I have a 15-year-old son.
Yeah,
kicking ass at basketball, if I remember. Was that?
Very much so, yeah. Like eats, breathes, lives, everything basketball.
it's great.
Yeah, whether he becomes a basketball star or not, it's the fact that he's pouring into something. But so I know you and the boys went through a journey. You guys are clean now. Is there any drinking on the tour whatsoever? Because I know you guys bring a trainer with you, a dietitian, everything else. Is there any drinking on the tour?
Well, like with the training and the trainers and the dietitians, we'll bring them out periodically kind of to get us going, and then we'll kind of take over from there. I think the last time we spoke, so this tour that we're getting ready to do, we have 11 semis. So we always gut one of those semis when they hit the dock in the morning. And then that basically that semi becomes what we call the yard, which is the gym. So there's heavy bags, there's assault bikes, there's treadmills, there's weights in there, there's resistance bands, TXR, all that kind of stuff. As far as drinking is concerned, Barry is the only one that partakes, but he's more of a connoisseur of like beer. He doesn't hit like heavy spirits, whiskey, vodka, that kind of stuff. So he's the only one in the band that really partakes in that. Other than that, everybody else, no one else drinks in the band.
I can't imagine you can have longevity. I mean, other than what, like the Rolling Stones, the only band to never go to rehab. Like, I just don't think you have longevity. Like, how would you do that?
Look at him. Like he's in good shape, dude.
Yeah.
The only other guy I remember is like Henry Rollins in that type of shape.
Yeah.
So, bro, if you don't mind, I know you invited me for a workout. We're bringing Judd, if you want in, Kirk, who then could talk about. I mean, Kirk's one of the top human performance docs in the nation. That's my definition. I'll stand fucking by that.
I like it.
All right.
He's like, I'll wear it.
I'll take that. I'm going to get a shirt that Mike's really says.
John was 12 years in the league.
10 years. 10 years. But you can give me 2 extra.
Man, we would love to come get a workout in with you guys.
That'd be incredible.
So what's the style of training you guys are doing?
It kind of varies. We do a lot of circuit training, do a lot of Tabata. We've added a little bit more resistance, not like extremely heavyweight, but heavier than normal. And it's basically just rotation. I mean, the reality is that our stage show, we're not mannequins up there, and we're all in our 40s. I'm 45. Eric's the oldest and probably in the best shape. He's 40. He's 48 now. And doesn't look anywhere near it. Zach is actually turning 40. He's the youngest in the band. He's turning 40 this year. It really kind of just a lot of cardio. I will say that. A lot of cardio, a lot of resistance training when we can do it. Because when we get up on stage, it's a lot of movement on stage. It's a very, very high energy show. So, I mean, we basically condition ourselves like an athlete. And if you were in the NFL, we kind of look at it two ways of thought is It's kind of like being in the military. It's kind of like being a professional athlete.
Badass.
I know for deployments, we always look forward to, and I'm sure the season, you always look forward to one thing. What's the one thing you look forward to going on tour? And I'm going to ask you the opposite of like, what's the one thing you're like, fucking going on tour again?
I will be totally honest with you. The one thing about tour that I'm very respectful of, and it is something that, you know, most of the time, if I'm not on tour, I got to do it myself. My mother taught me how to do it when I was 10 years old. I'm decent at it just because I have to be, but I am not a fan of doing laundry. And when I'm on the road, my laundry gets done for me, man. So that's like, that's
nice.
one of the only perks.
So are you the stinky one? Are you the stinky one in the group?
No, not at all. No. I'm the 2 shower a guy a day. And now that I've brought this, we have a portable for the very first time. We have a portable cold plunge that's going to be coming with us every day because I just started doing cold plunges I've done a ton of research and I finally decided to start doing them about a month ago. I've been doing them with my in my hotel room in the bathtub with like 40 pounds of ice every time. It's completely been a game changer for me. So, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. Just what it does, cutting down on inflammation is incredible. So that's probably, that's a new thing that's going to be hitting the road.
So I've got one in my backyard. I've got to bring you over. This thing is beautiful. I put a cement block in. I don't know if you have one at your place, but
Who makes it?
Cold Plunge,
Yeah,
the company. So it's internal. It's got the filter, but for me, I've heard the data with inflammation. It's more mental. It's more just like it's a routine.
I like the energy I get
Yes.
throughout the day. I stay high energy all day long.
Well, you get the same NAD spike that we're
No,
getting
no
right
kidding.
now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're all on IVs, doing NAD plus. We were talking about it earlier. But what's the one thing, bro, that you're like, yep, we're going back on tour. I'm so excited about it. Is it just the performance, being around the boys 24/7?
I told you the laundry.
No, he said he hates the laundry.
He loves to do his laundry.
Oh, they love that.
Because he
Oh,
loves that it
hates
gets
his
done
laundry.
for him.
so diva.
Yeah.
So
No,
diva.
I do.
I'm joking.
I hate doing laundry too. I hate folding laundry. I don't mind doing laundry. I hate folding laundry.
Oh, my,
Yeah.
it's a point of contention.
My
in
wife
house.
does it all. I want to ask you a question if you don't mind, Mike. Hey, Brent. I used to live in Nashville, and one time I got to chat with Vince Gill, who's an amazing human being, and he made a comment that stuck with me. He said, "Living in Nashville, it's crazy because the person who's helping you, park your car may be a better guitar player than you are." And so his point is, there's so much talent in the world of music. What do you think separates a group that has 15 platinum and gold singles, et cetera, from all the other very talented groups that are out there, working hard, but just not breaking through? What do you think separates you guys?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that I don't necessarily know if it would be what separates us from everyone else, because we really, really focus on who we are. And why I say that is we have to keep ourselves accountable for the fact that you got to remember something. It's called the music business for a reason. It is a business. Yes, there's an artistic element to it, but there's a massive artistic element to it. But the fact of the matter is that you can't really have this ideology that you've arrived. We try to never write the same song over and over again. We do our best to never make the same record twice. We practice a lot. We create a lot. We write a lot. One of the things I'm the most excited about, like going back on tour, is exactly that, being on tour and bringing it to the people. I mean, for us in this band, we only have one boss in Shinedown. It just happens to be everybody in the audience. And you got to remember that they're your livelihood, and you have to be honest. You have to be, very, very open and very truthful about the music that you create and that you put out there in the world. But I think the biggest thing that separates us is that we don't really believe in a top. Like, there's always going to be multiple Everests that you're going to have to climb. And we talked about this the last time. And, if all you guys in the room right there and myself, if I'm at base camp looking at a mountain that is just almost inhuman to even fathom being able to get to the top of it, if I was to do it on my own, I may not be able to do it on my own. But if we all do it together, and you help me and I help you, I'm pretty sure there's not a mountain that we couldn't climb together. And that's kind of how we have to look at it. And as you go through your career and as you have these milestones, you're appreciative of the milestones when you get to the top of those mountains. But you say, good job, everybody. Give each other a hug, handshake, high five, and then go find a bigger mountain. So in
Yep.
answer to your question, you can't just ever have this mentality that you've arrived. You have to keep going forward.
Do you know my
Yeah,
moment
man.
was I knew I was arrived? 2007. We got to party and hang out with Nickelback on their final show in Kansas City.
Oh,
And I went out with them, and I ended up fucking headbutting Chad Kroger and splitting his eye open. And then it ended up into a huge brawl where he tackled me on the table and we shattered all the bottles. And then
Oh
we're
my
rolling
God.
around actually battling, and his face was covered in blood. And then security picked him up, and we drank a lot of Jägermeister. I'm gonna admit that.
That'll do it.
Those guys,
So
those
foul.
guys are redneck cowboys from like just outside Calgary,
yes, listen to their
Canada.
music.
Yeah, I know.
gotcha.
And I was not
The
necessarily a
Houston- the
fan
Houston of Canada.
until I went out and realized that they were from a little town near where my mom's from in Lethbridge, Canada. And we had a blast. It ended up in a fight. I split his eye open. The next day we went to the concert, and his eye was all stitched up. And he's like, "You motherfucker!"
Wait. You're part Canadian?
Yeah, my mom.
Get out. I'm joking.
Yeah, so my mom's from a little town just across the border from that. That's why I like Whitefish, Montana. We went to a family reunion because my mom's from just across the border in Lethbridge.
So
But
my brother will drive from Whitefish to Calgary to fly out sometimes.
Yeah, so we go Calgary Stampede and that whole deal. But
Stampede.
I know the
It's a
little
good
town that those
time.
guys are
Oh,
from.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we used to go every year.
It's 2 weeks,
They
right?
they are the pride of Alberta, man. They actually just got inducted into the Canadian Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And
Wow.
they're just like redneck cowboys. And we ended up in a bitchin' barroom fight, and I split his eye open. The next day, we actually brought us up on stage, and he's like, "This idiot headbutted me and split my eye open." Yeah, and everybody cheered, and I was like, "Sweet!"
All right.
I arrived.
That's a good
We-
So
here's-
Chad Kroger and his brother were great dudes, and we had a good time. And I wasn't necessarily a Nickelback fan until that moment where like anybody shits on them. I'm like, "Hey, first of all, hell with you."
Yeah.
They were good dudes. So
I,
quit
so
ripping on them.
be prepared to throw the. Can you throw up the website Shinedown? I want to throw up the tour dates and locations, but this brings up a good point because you guys are in very similar industries that you like to party. So I'm going to let you go first, and Brent, if you can top him, this is great. Wildest party story within the NFL. And because it's you, John, you've got a brevity of 2
Okay.
minutes. So tell the fucking story.
Yeah, no, I got a good one.
Okay.
I'll set the stage. When I was playing in Philadelphia, I used to go up and we had a standing reservation at the W because we would go out on Monday nights to the China Club with Jeremy Shockey, the Giants, and all of the Yankees. So I was at the China Club with Shockey and all of the Yankees, and I'll just cut it there and say, because everybody's seen the Charlie Murphy, the China at the China Club, the whole deal with getting like there's a whole other life, and I legitimately felt like a rock star. But I will tell you, my greatest thing was actually
Like things
splitting.
you wouldn't want on video for.
No. I'll just leave it at like just use your imagination. But splitting Chad Kroger's head or a face open at a piece of shit bar in Kansas City, which like on a Tuesday night when there was nobody in there, we went in there, and I kid you, within an hour there were 4,000 people outside trying to get in. Like they must have said on a radio station or something. We were at this little bar, started drinking. They brought out like a huge bowl of
That's two
ice
stories,
and
John.
Jägermeister.
Two stories.
And, yeah, those are my two. So I'll just give you that. I'll go with the China Club in New York City with the Giants and the Yankees.
Brent, wildest past story, man.
He'll blow me up.
I don't know if I'll blow you away. I do have to tell you this, with Nickelback, those are my boys. I love those guys. I've known them forever.
Nice.
Just so you know, in the future, and it's only because I care about you, my man. So everybody, they just stopped, trying to get people to say it the right way, but it's actually Kruger, not Kroger. And he's actually been more adamant about it here recently. Like, it's Kruger, it's not
Good for him.
Kroger. But that band in just the United
If you talk to him, tell him like I was on a podcast with this football player from Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Who you guys split and he's a Canadian dude, split your eye open. Yeah,
I
ask
will.
him about it.
But dude, I'll tell you right now, those guys, those are some of the most genuine human beings on the planet Earth. And I mean, in the United States alone, this isn't a made up number, this is reality. That band has sold 30 million records in the United States. As far as globally, I don't even know where that sits at. But my story. Okay. So this is a story that I've told before because most people are like, there is no way that is real, but it is documented. It's very much real. I'm going to condense it into the best of my ability. So when we went out on our first legitimate real tour, our debut album, Leave a Whisper, turns 20 this year, which is crazy to begin with. So in 2003, we got the opportunity of a lifetime to go out with Van Halen. They had reformed with each other, and Sammy Hagar was singing. And so we had 2 months with them. And so we only had 30 minutes. That's all it was. It was our first record, first legitimate tour. And for whatever reason, Wolfie, who is Eddie Van Halen's son, who's much older now and is just a brilliant, brilliant guitar player, and a wonderful human being. He was about 10 years old when this was occurring. So Wolfie would come out and watch us play every night. We only had 30 minutes, but we were a younger band and Wolfie really, really dug us. So like, as we were on this tour, I started to notice that Eddie was with Wolfie during our set and would watch us play and this and that and the other. And so me and Eddie Van Halen kind of formed a friendship out on the road, because you got to understand something. I didn't grow up on Van Halen necessarily. Obviously, I knew who they were, but I wasn't some crazed, fan or anything like that. And for whatever reason, we just hit it off, me and him. And I think it was probably because I didn't want anything from it. I just really enjoyed his company, and he taught me a lot of different things about the business, and he showed me how to play Eruption. And we would go to lunch every day together when they would come in. But the story is this: one day, I'm in the restroom, and Eddie would come in every day at 5 o'clock, private planes. So always landing right around 5, in the venue around 5:30. He never wore a shirt. He always wore camouflage cut-off shorts and combat boots. And, he had beat throat cancer, but was still smoking American spirits, and he would drink Yellowtail wine out of the bottle. He was just everything that rock and roll, you would think it would be. And he always had his guitar on. So I'm in the bathroom in the dressing room. I hear Eddie come in, and he's like, "Hey, everybody, yo, where's Brent at?" And they're like, "He's in the bathroom. He'll be out in a minute." And I was like, "Eddie, I'll be right out." So I washed my hands, but I didn't really dry them off real well. And so when I walked out, I was like, "What's up, brother?" And we high-fived each other like that. And he was like, "Oh, dude, what the hell?" I'm like, man, I just, I was in there taking care of my business. He then proceeds to go over to the crafts table where all the deli meat and the veggie trays are. He takes the deli meat tray, takes his pants down, urinates on the tray, takes a rolled up piece of turkey, puts it in the center, and the cigarette that he's smoking, he takes it out, puts it inside of the turkey, so it's like a little smokestack, and he hands me the tray of urine filled turkey and says, "Here, give this to your tour manager. It's called a smoking gun." And he walked out. So there you go. That's what I got.
So was he upset, or was that a gift?
I think it's a gift, man.
It's a gift. It was like a rite of passage, man. Like it was so bonkers and beautiful at the same time. It's one of my favorite stories, if not my favorite story. That guy was, and by the way, I remember that night was the first night Wolfie started to come up with him on stage, and they played this guitar solo together. I mean, his son was 10 years old, and they would do this. Dude, it was so rad and so beautiful and so awesome. He was just, I miss him every day, man. He was such a wonderful, just incredible spirit.
Well, he when Dimebag Darrell died, he his famous yellow and black guitar.
Yeah.
He put the guitar in the casket, and like the most famous guitar, because the stories about him were pretty amazing.
Dude, if you may know this guy, I know you do. I don't want to say, let's say, Jim, K-Bar, last name, synonymous. But his dad was a SEAL. His dad gave him his trident, and it became a tradition shortly after, I believe, Red Wings, that you go up and you hammer your trident into the guy's coffin, whoever's dying. But he did it for Michael Mansour, and he comes up after, and I'm in a wheelchair, and he's like, I'm like, "Where's your trident, dude?" He's like, "I slammed it." I'm like, "That's your dad's trident, dude." He's like, "It's better served with him." and pass that lineage down to it's buried with Michael. So yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, can we throw up the dates? Is there a specific location you are most excited about?
Honestly, man, I'm excited about it all. It's kind of all over the map, and then we've got a bunch of other territories that we're going to announce later on this year. But yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to be going out there, and this stage setup that we're bringing on this particular tour is what we designed at the beginning of last year. When we were out at the beginning of the year with the Pretty Reckless and Diamante. So the stage basically is a giant thrust that goes all the way into the center of all the arena. So it's like a 360 angle. So even the nosebleed section, there's not a bad seat in the house. It's literally like kind of all basically like being in the round in a lot of ways. But we spent a lot of work on the stage design. And I think that's what I'm the most excited about, is being able to present the stage the way that it was all designed.
So that's interesting. You guys are involved in a lot of the details to the stage design.
Every single bit of it.
Because that's your brand.
It's your show.
Yeah, but I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to this particular design, to Zach, our guitar player. He had a lot to do with this one. And Mitch Schillinger, who is the show designer, he did a phenomenal job putting this production together. So it's all the bells and whistles. It's quite over the top.
Okay. I'm in touch with your team. I'd love to go to a location that
anyone you want to come to, man. You can bring as many friends as you want, bro.
I mean, I want to go to a location that nobody's ever been and make it unique. We'll get a workout in. Of course, John's going to have to talk to your trainer to put something together that challenges you guys without wiping you out.
John can bring his own weights.
Bro, what's the best place for people to go? I know you said it's near sold out. Where can they go to try to get tickets?
Yeah, scroll down.
So the easiest way to get tickets is just like if you go online and you just look up the tour dates, and there's a bunch of different links that you can do. I mean, a lot of times the easiest thing is just Shinedown tour and go. You can go to shinedown.com and get tickets directly right there. Check the local radio stations, things of that nature. Everything's out there on social media: our Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok. It's all out there.
Okay.
Spokane.
Yeah, I saw Savannah. I saw Baton Rouge. I saw Memphis. I'm like, yeah, those are my
Where are you at right now?
We're all in Austin, man.
Okay, I was just in Austin. We just did 94.7. We did the Hot AC station out there, South by Southwest. We did their show.
Oh wow!
You knew I was Austin. You didn't even
Right.
know.
I didn't know you were Austin. I know now.
No, I did a podcast with him like a month and a half ago. No, man. We'll. And I remember I gave you shit. I'm like, do you have a problem with Texas? Because there's no Texas.
Texas is coming though. Texas. I can't announce it just yet, but Texas is coming later in the year, September, October.
Okay. All right. We will choose a date. I'm in touch with your team, dude. Brent, I can't thank you enough, man, for everyone
Guys,
listening.
thanks for letting me hang out with you today. It was such an honor and such a pleasure to meet all of y'all. Look forward to meeting you in the future. You're welcome to come at the show. Anyone you want to come to. Such an honor to be here. Thank you guys so much.
And I promise John will not split your eye open.
Well, those days are over for us.
Those days are over for him.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Brent.
All right.
Good meeting you, man.
Much love,
Pleasure.
guys. Thank you.
All right. So let's talk recovery, post-workout recovery.
Are we going to rip these things out?
Turn it off, dude. Yeah. They can come in while we're doing this.
Yeah,
So
I gotta
post,
hit the head,
you got to hit the head. Post-workout recovery. Let's talk about it. I know it's different for other people. We talked about the cold plunge. Which that is like,
I don't like a cold plunge post workout. All the research, it's not good. It blunts it blunts all the hypertrophy, like all the research. Yeah, like there's pretty conclusive research that like if you're doing hypertrophy based training, cold plunging after is literally blunts the entire effect.
So do it before.
So yeah, you would do it farther away.
I think it enhances myostatin expression.
Yeah, but I think it like any of the down it just like when I read it, and I can't remember the exact deal, it wasn't all that favorable.
Yeah.
So I've heard that before as well. You know where I hit it? I love it before I go to sleep. Yeah. So before the end of the night, I hit it in the morning. I'll go out there, I'll hit it at night. And it ranges around. I hold it at 40.
Yeah.
Which and the other thing too is if you do cold plunge, how long do you do it? You need the limiting factor for me is my lower area. Like, so I do 3 minutes, I'm out. Yeah.
That's all you're supposed to do is 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's
All the,
supposed
all
to
the,
be
re-
like
the best research.
it's 11 minutes a week, I think.
Yeah,
is what it-
like,
Is really
so it's like three minutes, 3 to 4 times a week is like, that's the 90%, 95% of all benefit you're going to get is going to be in there.
so.
Saunas are the same way. It's
Yeah.
like saunas 20 to 30 minutes 3 times a week. Like that's
Yeah.
that's it. And then you start going past that.
I think the
Maybe you're going
Finland
back.
studies were like 60 to 75 minutes total a week.
So, but this is where, let's be honest, commercialism comes into place. If you're going to spend $5,000 on a cold plunge, you're going to use that thing 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
And I get it.
It just doesn't work.
But I'll tell you, the thinnest I've ever gotten, the best I ever felt was sauna every day for like 10 minutes.
The sauna effect, I mean, in terms of, developing like zone 2, aerobic fitness is extremely high. So, I mean, like if you were to like jump on the bike and do like 25 minutes of zone 2 stuff and then jump in a sauna for 20 or 30 minutes, I mean, the effects are pretty renowned. Assuming you're getting over that, I think it's like 174, which is the heat shock protein doc.
Yeah, there's different. Yeah, there's different heat shock rates,
Yeah.
different temperatures. But
Yeah, but something in that 170 plus. And I mean, I really like the sauna. I do think that the
Do you have one in them?
we do. I actually ordered like a big barrel sauna because our sauna doesn't get hot enough. So I want to do like a big barrel one. We also have a 2-person. I want to have a big one where like people can come over and hang out and get in there at once.
John wants to be able to do yoga in there.
Well, no,
I
but
would suspect that you're very.
but
you're very,
one of the things which I really liked,
very oat milk. I'll say that.
one of the things I liked about the studies from Finland had to do more with like everybody, like I think it was like 90% of their population has some form of like sauna in their house.
Yeah,
they have like a social thing where they come over and people like do get in the sauna, and it's a social thing, and there's like a social interaction piece that like I realized I was like, well, we have a 2-person. So I'll get in there with like my, like my kid or like different deal. But I was like, it'd be fun if like it was big enough to fit like a bunch of people. Be like, how hot can we get this bitch? And then how long can you stay in there? And then turn it into a game, which I know you SEALs would probably be like, I could do 200 for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
So-
people would be dead.
Yeah. So I like the
The
social
SEALs are
aspect.
good at that. How long could you hold her breath?
Yeah.
And it's just
Oh yeah,
2 guys.
couple of guys,
Yeah.
I know SEALs are good for that,
Yeah.
but no, it's I was actually
Which who fucking cares? I don't know where that ever freaking came into like.
I didn't necessarily
It's just
tell
competition.
the
Always,
story,
everything.
but I like when I was in Philly, we had a celebrity golf tournament, and I was Tommy Lee's partner, and got to ride around in the cart with Tommy Lee. That was another one. And all the stories from The Dirt. I had read Motley Crue, The Dirt. I'm like, is it true? He's like, oh yeah, you should see the stuff we couldn't put in the book. So yeah, rock stars live a great life.
Yeah, they do.
But I think the recovery stuff is pretty basic. Like there was at one point in my life where I thought like massage was a big deal, and then I got to the point where I actually felt worse after a massage.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your your ability to clear things out, right? So, like you're basically accelerating the lymphatic system, right? When you're massaging stuff, you're just like I was saying earlier, like all of our cells are small versions of us. Like they're taking in oxygen, they're taking in nutrients, and they're producing waste. And when you exercise, you produce waste, and lactic acid being one of them that you want to flush out, and that's in your lymphatics, and that's being moved basically by the opposite pressure of your lungs, right? So as you're, when you have a negative pressure in your lungs, once you've exhaled everything, that sucks lymph into, this big channel that your lymph flows through. And then when you exhale, that kind of pushes it through. And so you're accelerating that by having people massage it out, because there's kind of squeezing waste products out of cells and pushing things into your lymphatics. And if it's overwhelming your lymphatic system, then it's going to make you kind of feel like the flu, because that's kind of what's going on with the flu. Lots of dead material, lots of viral material, lots of.
Do you think it's good? I mean, when I played, I would get my legs massaged, and I get my hands. So my hands would get real beat up from obviously punching people.
Right after.
So the next day I'd have a gal, she'd like work on my hamstrings and my legs and my calves, kind of flush them out, and then she'd massage my hands.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. Like I like that hand massage thing. Like
that makes sense to me, because the hand's so mechanical. There's not so much there, but there's so many tendons and so many ligaments.
She was like
and
a
so
wizard
many,
on the hands. I would just be like, oh, thank God, make my hands stop hurting.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
But then like when I'd get full body stuff, like I would feel like worse. I'd feel like I had the flu and feel sick, and I'd stop getting it done.
Yeah. I mean, deep tissue directly after, I think, is counterproductive, right? Because because that pressure is actually damaging
massages?
tissues too.
Yeah, massage.
What did I just say? We've been drinking. The Sotel's hitting me. Plus, we were
Just
few
a little bit.
mimosas deep with Will.
You said massages. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said
So
it
what
right.
about the power gun?
So the Theragun or the vibrating guns work really well with something called RPR. Restorative Postural Reset was created by a guy named Cal Dietz and another guy, Douglas Heel. And it's basically what it is dysfunction stored in the fascia. So we'll use the gun, and there's something called wake up drills. Doc, like you guys would love this. He's going to come teach another event at our place. You guys got to learn this. So we do it every single day. I do it on my kids, and I'm dramatically better in my training with less more mobility, feel better. And it takes 3 to 5 minutes to do. We do with all of our fighters.
Just do it in the morning.
Can you put a video out
Yeah.
for Men's Journal that just shows how you do it?
Yeah, 100%.
You do it pre and post?
So we do it. My wife does it 3 times a day. She does it morning. She'll do it after a workout, and she does it before bed because I sleep better when I do it. But it's called wake up drills, and this is what they call it. But it basically goes through like a series, and like it's super basic. It's like basically 13 movements, and you just kind of go through these different patterns. And then so what we'll do, we do that first thing in the morning, and then there's something that Cal Dietz, who's another one of my buddies, put together called the goat drill. That if I showed you guys is super simple. So we do that for like warm up. But like I think the recovery stuff really if and Doc probably understands this better than anybody, but if your training is so extreme that like you have like all of these super over the top recovery protocols that you have to do to get to your next day of training, we probably need to like look at the training piece.
Yeah,
Right now, if Judd is going to try to like basically rowboat from Chile to
Antarctica.
Antarctica,
It's a continent. It's
Yes,
actually the biggest
It's
continent.
the other way, Antarctica.
Right.
Chile.
I know
Yeah.
you were educated at Cal, but
I know. I was just thinking of the
it's
word.
not Stanford. Couldn't get into
So
Stanford. Wasn't recruited.
as he's going, it's going to be 11, 12 days, right?
No. Let's. I know we're not going to throw things out there. Let's just say I think.
Well,
we're gonna surprise people.
he'd like to do it faster. So, but like there's
Bro,
a
have you
situation
seen-
where like
these guys.
they're in survival mode, but yet when we start talking about the training, like the training has to be severe enough to get them in shape for what's ahead of them, but can't be so severe that it effectively destroys them before they get to it. And I think what happens to a lot of people, whether it be running in this, like they do so much training volume, but by the time they get there, they're not ready for the event.
You mean they're not?
Well, they
recovered.
they're just destroyed themselves.
What's
John,
what's
John, straight
the
up,
number?
Do I need to jump on this team? Do I need to fucking?
For what? For moral support?
Oh no, but do that. I'm bringing a microphone on the support chip.
Yeah.
You should. There's gonna be some good shit on support.
What's the
I
deal?
get it, like,
Mush.
I'm sure
Stroke.
like on video you'd be like
Stroke,
shut
just
the
like in Bud. You're gonna be the stroke man.
I'm gonna
Stroke.
turn the radio off.
Yeah, you're like,
Fucking mic
God
stuff.
What's the number one recovery tool?
Water, sleep.
Salt.
Sleep.
I was going to say salt.
Sleep.
But it's always I
just
found
found
for
his
me it's the
products, right?
basics. It's like if I'm getting good sleep and drinking a shitload of water and not
Yeah.
drinking much alcohol, like
Yeah.
I recover quickly.
So
I
you,
don't need
you
to
just
do
gave me
float
this
tanks and shit.
LMNT.
Yeah.
I take it before I go to sleep. I take it in the morning. Like my headaches have been substantially
So
less.
what I do is I take this amazing product called Dr. Parsley Sleep Cocktail.
That's called Sleep Remedy.
Oh,
now.
sorry, sleep remedy.
yeah.
But I'm not plugging it because Doc and I are friends. I legitimately take 2 packets, and then I take the Element packet, and then I put a little bit of Natural Calm, a little bit, and I make it into this thing, and I drink that right before bed.
That'd be good with an element. I never even thought about that.
Oh,
we
so-
need to co-brand with Rob.
so-
Like
so then the other one I
do
do
an element pack.
is
Yeah.
I get like a protein shake. So I buy vanilla protein, which I hate, but if I put the chocolate salt element in it
Yeah.
and I shake that up and I drink that thing first thing at like 5 a.m. before I go train, I dude, I put it in my coffee, the chocolate salt. in my
I put
coffee.
element in my margaritas. That lemon lime.
I just pour tequila and then I
You
pour
don't
the
need any.
ancillary.
You don't need
No,
any
you just
lemon-
put
I
the
think
lemon
any
lime in
margarita
tequila.
mix.
I
You
think
just
you met this guy, but his name is Parrish. Good dude. He was based out of Austin. But have you ever heard of it was just like No Hangover? I think they recently changed the name.
yeah.
And I think the Maloof brothers were
There you go. Just try some.
yeah, it's bro, it's just mass, bro. I mean,
Did-
again, look.
That's actually a tattoo. If you're
Look,
watching
Did
from
I ever
home,
tell
it's
you
tattooed on there.
I flew on George Maloof's plane with Shockey? They sent the Palms jet to pick him up, and like we got to fly on Maloof's private jet.
So hold on. In 2006, we went to Panama City, Panama, and then went into the jungle to train for 3 weeks. Which did you do jungle training?
And George Maloof's
no,
jet
no.
was
Like, I'm going to tell you, like, I will survive in any environment. The jungle, man is not meant to be in the jungle. It is.
Did you operate there?
So
Ever?
we no,
Yeah,
I
okay.
did not. But we went and did it in Panama for training at the Fort Cologne, Fort Sherman.
So what's so gnarly about the jungle?
What, dude?
No, I'm
John,
I,
so let
I
me
realize
break
it's
it down.
gnarly. I'm just asking you.
Let me break it down. Everything wants to bite you.
Yeah.
Everything, like, it's everything. All
But
the
there's
plants are
also
prickly.
food everywhere.
There's food everywhere.
Yeah.
So the second you step into the jungle, you're in dry camis, you rappel down through triple canopy. Within 3 minutes, you're completely wet. So you bring 2 sets of camis, one to patrol during the day and one to sleep in at night. You cannot sleep on the floor of the jungle.
Yeah.
You
Just
can't.
sleep in a hammock.
So you sleep in a hammock, because if you slept on the jungle one, you'd be bitten by everything and you'd be dragged off into the night. So you basically get into your dry set of camis, sleep, wake up, and then get back in
Wet clothes.
your wet
Same
camis. And so you're miserable the whole time. And every time you'd see everyone, like, I think predominantly it was white guys in our SEAL platoon, like, they would touch something and then you would see that, like, their weapon go up in the air and like do this and like catch
Oh,
the weapon.
Jesus.
It was awful. But we ended up on the back end of that trip in Panama City in the Marriott, which has a casino, for 3 nights. And we were pretty close to Mardi Gras, which they still celebrate in Panama. And so we spend 3 nights. Guys have lost their souls. And the C-130 crew, the Air Force crew that is coming to pick us up, lands, and they ask one question. And we were like so naive. They're like, "Hey, are they letting you guys out in town at night?" And we're like, "Yeah." They're like, "Yeah, C-130's broke." We stayed 2 additional nights so they could party. Those 2 additional nights, Jeremy Shockey's in one of the Panama in the Marriott casino. And so we had a guy named JJ who played football at UT when they were, championship team. And so they hit it off, and bro, like, we quickly came to the conclusion, do not party with this guy. He had weapons in his fucking hotel room. We're like, we're like,
Yeah,
we're not
he's
gonna,
a legit crazy person.
Yeah. So that's my Jeremy Shockey. Let me ask you this. The Normatec,
Yeah.
I know Theragun with the
I like
leg
the
compression,
I like the Normatec boots. I actually have them at the house, and the reason I
all the way up to your hips.
all the way up. The reason I bought them, which is even more hilarious, is my wife.
Could you throw those up?
My wife was pregnant with twins, so I have twin daughters. So my
Oh.
wife's legs and her feet were so swollen that she couldn't wear shoes, and she got to the point where like walking and everything. And I think she was most upset that her just feet looked like square, like Legos with toes. Yeah. And so I bought the Normatec boots, and she would just lay there and it would pump all of the swelling out of her legs. So her feet looked normal, which was like much better experience and more manageable, because then she could actually wear like shoes and feel normal. And so, like, it's funny, whenever I meet pregnant women, I'm like, oh, I feel terrible. I'm like, get these Normatec boots and pump them out. Because, like, if your legs feel normal, you'll feel fine.
So you
I've
guys are
used
probably
these
gonna need
things.
these.
I've used these things,
Yeah.
but I don't understand what the point is. Like, just to
Because
reduce
they're
inflammation.
Game ready, right?
Yeah.
Game,
Game-
well, no,
the
Game
game-
Ready was also cold.
Yeah.
these aren't cold.
Yeah. So
No,
they
These are
pumped.
just compression.
Yeah, they pumped cold water in, which if you've ever had a knee surgery or like a shoulder surgery, those Game Readies are like,
Yeah,
but these
those are
Normatecs, in terms of like pumping swelling, so like if my knee was swollen or something was banged up, the Normatec boots were great. But I'm telling you, they were like a godsend. Like if your wife is pregnant and has like Lego feet and feels terrible, like throw these things on her. It was like the night and day deal for her.
Okay,
Problem is
good
when
to
you have
know.
leg injuries, like the only way your leg, not the only way, the primary way that your blood gets from your, below your knee back up to your heart is by your muscles contracting.
And that's what it
pushing back
does. There's an
there.
algorithm.
And so if you're
Yeah.
injured and you can't walk, and you can't use your leg muscles,
It just
then-
pumps your muscles.
and you're gonna lay in bed, whatever. Then you're gonna pool a bunch of blood.
I will tell you.
Yeah.
So let's say one of my past commands sent me this when I was having the hip replacement.
Mhm.
Those things were a godsend. And I said it right back because the boys need it more than I do. But I then bought my own. I mean, what's cost prohibitive is $799.
Yeah, they're not cheap, and but yeah, the one that I have has like has a
It has
pump and a
4
box.
inches free payments.
Oh well,
So you just slide them on, and then you fill them up with air, or the machine
Yeah.
does that
No,
for you.
no. It
Yeah.
does it for you, but there's an algorithm. It basically fills towards your foot.
Yeah.
And it'll work, and then it'll work down and up. But so we put them on the couch, my wife and I, and we'll both getting in our set.
So just hang out and watch TV.
The other thing which
Things get weird.
we've been well, there's two things that we've been testing. One is EWAT. I think we might have talked about that, exercise with oxygen. So it's a huge bag that gets filled with 93% oxygen.
Keep going. I'm going to grab something.
And then you exercise with it. Like that's a big one. And then the other one is we have a PMF machine that does the vibration. And that PMF machine, man, I throw that thing on and like I feel so much better after I use it.
Yeah.
So I've got the power.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What's your perspective on this? So I'll bring it out.
I developed a whole bunch of protocols for those because originally Compex, who we worked with, when Eric Ladder, got sent that deal, he hit me up and I showed him how we had been using the EMS devices, a la through Charlie Francis. And the problem I ran into is the Compex had these units and they had all these wires. So I was on an airplane flying to Europe and I pulled out my Compex device and I started like putting all the pads and hooking all the wires up. The lady next to me starts hitting the button and started screaming because she thought I was like hooking myself up to a bomb or something. And and then I came back and I was like, yo, we need a wireless version.
Was it like a tent?
No, they're EMS.
Like
TENS is a tournament. So it's EMS, electromuscular stimulation. So everywhere that the pads are touching,
small shirts, dude.
right?
Medium.
Everywhere the pads are touching will recruit motor units. So as we age, a few things happen. We lose mitochondrial density and we lose the ability to recruit motor units. Some people do. But what we do is these devices, you're actually missing one. You got to put this is
the long one.
Yeah, the long one is what's called the ground. So yeah, you got to have a ground on there. Okay.
And so but I've thrown these on in the plane.
Yeah.
No one's looked at me like I'm a
terrorist, the problem is that they're much easier, but the other one had all these wires. And so I came back, was like, we need a wireless device. The other problem we were running into is what it does is it forces a concentric contraction. And for those of you guys listening, there's 3 contractions: concentric, lengthening, eccentric, and then isometric. So it's forcing concentric contractions. So when you do some form of training and you're forcing eccentric contractions. Oh, did I miss this? Yeah. Concentric. And then I'm forcing eccentric, which is muscle lengthening. So muscle shortening is what it's forcing to do with dynamic movement, like squatting, like basically using your muscles.
Well, you have to squat more
than
your muscles can move.
Yeah.
Which is what ARX is.
Yeah. So we were actually doing a bunch of plyometrics.
So you're doing like negatives essentially.
Yeah. And then using it. And so we were fighting against it and we saw some really amazing results. The only problem became there became an application issue where you'd have to coach somebody through like how to do the movements and then also like what the efficacy of the load, like how often you can do it, because you're going to create a bunch of muscle soreness. So, and then all of a sudden they just shit canned the whole performance side of it and said, hey, let's just sell it as a recovery device because they couldn't sell it as a performance device.
Whoa.
So Doc, if all of a sudden you put it on and it contracts, fight against the contraction. So like what I'll do.
It's contracting. It's like,
so this is, but if you look,
my delta, I guess.
It's a good tech.
So Therabody bought this.
Yeah, they bought it from PowerDot. Which was
in look on the end. Sorry, man, I had to cause you pain. That's just brotherhood.
Which was actually good.
I wasn't even close to painful
because my contribution to that ended up with a rental house.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Hold on.
We're gonna put it on his taint.
Hold your hand.
Here we go. This was not the intended post recovery. All right, ready?
You can't do this shit to the team.
That's right. 5. Is that painful?
That's my delta.
Yeah.
Deltoid.
See, you see what it's contracting.
Yeah, I'm watching.
Okay, I'm going to bring that down. But so they've got a number of protocols. One is you can actually get a workout, you can do recovery, you can do pain relief. This one has been nice. So I use this during 777.
So the problem is that the research on it, like yes, it works. The problem is the way it's being sold is actually full of shit. And this was a huge problem I had with it. So it's not a primary training tool. It's an ancillary deal. It's like saying like, hey, you know what? You don't have to work out. You just have to do this. It's bullshit.
So that's like remember the
No,
pads
it's
on the abs?
so-
It was
so-
just like,
so-
come on.
everything's that way. Though,
I know,
right?
I know,
In
and-
NAD, you get more NAD from exercise.
Of course you
than
do.
get from this.
Right. But
Until you optimize everything, then you
Yeah.
use little gadgets.
so if like,
marketers go,
if it recruits motor units, right, and like, that's what we wanted. We wanted indiscriminate motor unit recruitment. The problem is let's say I go train, right? Like you go in and we're gonna, let's say, squat, or we're gonna do something. How many motor units are you effectively recruiting during that workout? We don't know, right? Because we don't have a way to gauge it.
Right.
But I can have you train, and then I can have you use this as a supplemental device so that you can effectively clean up the rest of the motor units. We were Matt Vincent years ago. Matt Vincent came to train with us, and he was having a tremendous amount of problem, obviously from injuries in his knee and whatever. We hooked him up with the power dots. We used a whole bunch of power dots in the pre-training, and got all of a sudden got his leg to fire, got everything to fire, used manual resistance protocols, basically got him completely tuned up, ready to rock. He gets underneath the weight, and he was so explosive out of the bottom of the squat for the first time in years, tore his ACL with his foot planted, which you should not be able to tear your ACL with your foot planted. Literally blew his knee out, and I heard it, and I was like, what was that? Was that wasn't your knee, was it? And he's like, I think I think I just ruptured my ACL. So it was something where he effectively was so shut down and into a movement pattern because of so much injury that the minute that we got everything firing in the pre-environment, like the pre-training environment, he ended up hurting himself.
Was the injury an ACL though? I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like hanging on by threads.
Yeah.
So
and then
basically
he ruptured his ACL.
overpowered his knee because he felt so good.
Yeah. So like we had, and we tested the EMS
That was a
devices.
therapeutic rupture because that was going to happen anyway, probably.
Well, and then he ended up getting a knee replacement shortly thereafter. So his knee was obviously trashed. But we ended up testing the Compex. So I was approached by Compex years ago. And the reason that we created our training programs and put it behind a paywall was because we were testing their devices and how well they worked. And then I had different groups, segmented them over 40 where they used in a pre-training environment. The younger guys used them in a post-training environment to clean stuff up. And I created protocols, training programs, the entire thing. And we were going to basically create a course. And then we tried to do this at PowerDot, a training course that you could go online on how to use EMS for a performance device. And it was never able to get the education off the ground because they couldn't, or at least they claimed that nobody was going to buy it as a performance device. Everybody wanted recovery, which I don't know, just speaks about the fucking lameness of the consumer performance.
Well,
or
I have an idea now.
athletic market.
I'm going to do my left arm with this, and then I'm going to do my right arm with your 20-inch bicep program. And 1 month later, we're going to see which one.
I'm so
Well,
disappointed.
the way that it'll work is if we did the 20-inch arms and then you used it after, Doc. Like, I think it's really an important piece of tech for people, especially as they age, because what happens is you get neurological inhibition when you're training, and your body can't recruit motor units because you can't, which is really Dr. Bueller's deal.
Well, and
right, so-
you actually lose motor unit capability because you're losing neurological function. Which
So
another
this
thing Ibogaine good for, by the way.
well,
Go ahead.
this effectively what it does is wild, is that it actually it's like jumping your car. It takes the brain out, takes the CNS out, and just puts wherever the pad touches will recruit motor units. So it works really beneficial. I mean, that's Dr. Bueller's ambit. The idea that the body or the brain ends up blocking muscles from firing, and he's able to go back and clear that, which is to me the I mean, like if people
So if you do the Ibogaine, we need to do Dr. Bueller right afterward and like do all the muscle.
Well,
reset.
and first off, you did the DMT. Was it
5-MeO DMT.
5-MeO?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
the most
Ibogaine
spiritual thing.
followed by 5-MeO DMT.
Yeah,
But you
Yeah.
basically had a day between.
Yeah, 2 days between.
so wait a minute,
Yeah,
you
but-
guys did the Ibogaine, then you did the DMT?
Oh,
It's part of the program.
Yeah, the combination
the
of those
DMT,
two is
and so that's part of the
pretty
experience.
special.
But it's the 5-MeO DMT, which is different than like what people put in marijuana.
Let
Oh,
me
that's
talk.
like-
Let me talk to Tyson. Let me talk to Sean, and the 6 of us will go down and we'll video document this whole thing because I think there is an educational benefit for those watching. So the guy who led it, Dr. Martin, and we've had him on this podcast.
Oh, you have Martin
Yes.
Polanco.
Oh, yeah.
He's-
His I want to be careful here. His sister was highly addicted to a drug. Ibogaine basically is a great, and this is where again Western medicine will not accept it, to get people off alcohol or any other addictive drugs. It's been highly effective.
Wow.
Highly effective. 19 years of dipping stopped. I restarted 6 months later, but then shortly quit 3 months after that, and I haven't dipped yet.
85% success rate of curing opiate addiction, like heroin addicts, with one treatment.
Yeah, I saw one where a guy
Um,
had stuttered his entire life and then did it once and like
So-
never stuttered again.
So we've had about 400 former special forces guys go through, and what I hear, I mean, I don't know, one out of every probably 50% of them will say, I haven't drank since I did that.
Right.
Like they didn't even have it, like they didn't even recognize themselves as having any kind of drinking problem. They're just like, I just don't want alcohol.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that it does is it resets all the reward systems in your brain, right? And so, and then another thing is like what we don't realize is a lot of the times we're using drugs, or alcohol or nicotine or caffeine or whatever. Like a lot of times we're using drugs. We're doing that because we're uncomfortable and we're trying to distract ourselves. We're trying to energize ourselves, focus ourselves, or distract ourselves from something painful. And so if you reset that circuitry to where that your limbic system, which is causing that sort of hyper alertness and hyper arousal and excess worry and all that, you reset that, people don't have a desire for that. And the other thing it does is it elevates dopamine levels so high, which is one of the things you're searching for. So probably be the cure, one of the cures for the social media.
Kirk, you bring
mess
up
that we have
you bring up
coming.
something important. I think that relates back to recovery.
Yeah.
I think people are so focused on recovery and physical recovery because they feel like shit.
Yeah.
The problem is what we're missing is we're not just physical animals. We are emotional animals. And our culture doesn't focus, especially men. We don't focus on our emotional state. And so when we feel uncomfortable, we say, I need a massage. I need a float tank. I need cupping.
Right.
I need an IV. I need all these things.
Right.
When in most cases, and I coach people on high performance, and they always want me to look at physical, which I'm not a physical trainer.
Right.
They want me to look at intellectual. They're already sharp in both those categories.
Right.
Where I focus on is emotional.
Right.
What's your
Spiritual.
emotional awareness and spiritual? Yeah, those are the four categories.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, right?
More
Our
hugs.
as Homo sapiens, we've had this body as a species for 300,000 years, but the first vertebrates had basic emotions like fear and anger, and that goes back millions of years.
Yeah.
So we are not thinking animals that have evolved the ability to feel. We are feeling animals that have evolved the ability to think.
Yeah.
So the
Emotions
number one
precede
focus-
thought.
Emotions
Always.
precede
Yeah,
thought, always.
And we justify the emotion. It's usually a confabulation. Like we make up some reason why we're feeling that emotion, but the emotion comes first.
Or we have
Yeah.
no fucking clue what the emotion is,
Yeah,
right?
but
And so
that-
we
but
say,
we
"Oh,
still-
I
but we
need
still-
to
so-
work
so
out.
basically-
I need to
we-
need a
But we make it
massage."
up and we
But
say
they
we
say
need a
this,
massage.
exactly,
Or
make it up.
Or we say,
And I'm not promoting my book here, but we talked about this. It's you need to put fitness into three buckets. There is physical, that's physical fitness, but then we're like mental health. No, it's mental fitness and spiritual fitness, or if you want to call it spiritual, emotional, or mental emotional. 3 buckets of fitness: mental fitness, spiritual fitness, and physical fitness.
Yep.
And you've got to look at them. If you're not exercising your spiritual muscles, then atrophy sets in.
your brain
So
is your biggest
The
muscle.
greatest, like,
Yep.
of course, I'm not going to post these pictures online because they were sent to a girlfriend at the time. But the best shape I was in were my last deployments, where I was at like 7% body fat.
Mhm.
And
They called him Magic Mike.
uh,
He sends them to me at really odd hours of the night, and I can't share them, so it's real weird.
like,
I'm thinking of you.
Like this.
He's
He's
hoping
like,
you've had a few drinks. and we'll respond
He's like,
straight
"How does
away."
this make you
that
feel?"
was-
I'm like,
that was
"Aroused."
my gift during December of 2012 and until all that Afghanistan. But the best physical shape of my life, emotionally and spiritually bereft.
Yeah.
And that's it's you're like, oh, well, you look great. Like there was
I'm
nothing
dead
behind
inside.
that.
So when you look at recovery, 25% of your recovery time should be
physical.
focused on physical. The rest needs to be focused on emotional and spiritual.
But getting
That's
people
what
to
makes our
understand,
bodies
like,
work.
it doesn't mean you need 30 minutes to focus on the mental and the spiritual. It could be a 5-minute drill every day, or simply journaling,
Do something.
reflecting. Yes,
Journaling is a fucking superpower.
people
Well,
don't get that. People,
what
people are listening to books; they're
but
not
what-
reading anymore.
What people forget, and I go back, there was an old dean of the law school at UC Berkeley when it used to be called Bolt. It's changed now.
You've lost me in Berkeley, but go ahead.
So when I took my trip there, I got to meet him, and he was an old guy, and we sat down because I wanted to be an attorney like my dad. And he knew the old lawyer that mentored my dad, so really sharp old dude. And he told me, he goes, if you want to be an attorney, you have to learn to read and write to the best of your ability. I was
Yes.
like, okay. And he goes, because if you don't learn to read and write, you'll never learn to think. And he goes, what's fucking up the entire world? And he dropped the F-bomb. is he goes, people are thinking without first understanding their thoughts and reading other great thinkers. So he said, before you learn to learn to think, you have to learn to read and write.
Jordan Peterson says something very similar.
And she says it. Leaders are readers.
And this was in
readers.
1994. This old man told me, if you want to be intelligent, learn to read and write, and then you learn to think. It doesn't go. He goes, there's thinkers that learn to. He goes, no. You learn to read and write, and then you think. It has to go in that.
What's this new AI thing? This chat
GPT. Yeah,
that's going to destroy humankind right there,
So-
because no one's going to know how to write anymore.
I'm going to step in and say, guys, we need to move on. But I will say the ability to read and write is degrading, and that is sad for mankind.
But like we said, the problem is that people are just going to I want to be a great thinker. And I think you're right. Jordan Peterson, like Doc and I got to go for his initial talk and when he came back out on the road. Are you there?
In Austin?
Yeah.
No, I missed it.
We were there at the very first
Nice.
one. I bought tickets and Doc went because I am always confabulated when people shit on Jordan Peterson. And I'm like,
he's the foremost thinker of our time.
When they call him a pseudo-intellectual.
Yeah, he's the Einstein of our time.
That guy's brilliant.
He is so intelligent. And
Those people aren't happy with
but
who they are.
It's
That's the problem.
it's because he's sat and read, he's thought, he's written, and when he gets presented with something, he's thought it from like A to Z. There's no, and he even says like, I haven't thought about this enough. I don't want to discuss it.
And for him, thinking about something means he's thought about it for like
Do you
at
think we
least
can
a
get him on here?
month,
And do
maybe
you think we can get
6
him on here?
months.
I would. He's one of the people that I would like to meet.
Okay. He just destroyed. So some woman was again feminist. She said, "Hey, it's a male-dominated society. There's a video out there. I'll send it to you guys, and I'll try to push it out over social media. But like, it's a male-dominated society. You've suppressed women." And he said, "You know what? That is very one that's it's not factual, and it's actually you're promoting a false narrative." She said, "Who's mostly in prison? Men. Who die in war? Men.
Right.
Who do most blue-collar jobs? Men.
99% of bricklayers, 99% of people have died in war, 99% of offshore oil workers, offshore fishermen, like people who work in sewage, people who work on high power.
Highest suicide rate.
Right.
Of men.
Men.
Well, the reason men kill themselves, and I'm pretty convinced, is, and then this might go back to neuroplasticity. Men lose the ability to make new friends as they age. So there's a point in life when we talk about the crystallization with like you can look at a guy and be like, oh, your haircut hasn't changed since you're 26. You kind of crystallized. The ability to
men
make
lose their ability.
I don't know. My hair is
The most depressed demographic in America is men aged 60 to 70.
Men lose.
Yep.
But it correlated to the suicide rate.
They lose a
It's 60,
source
70,
of
70
respect.
men.
Yeah.
They
Because-
lose we give each other shit because we respect each other and we
super
recognize that. You lose that. You lose that in society, but they lose their wives.
We lose our friends.
Single man, you lose your
We don't have fucking friends
Right.
anymore because we work 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
but
We think that's
the
what we're
thing.
supposed to do.
But you have to be able to keep friends, and you have to be able to have the ability to make new friends.
That's right.
And I meet people all the time that have effectively crystallized to the point where they can't listen to new ideas and they can't entertain them and have thoughtful discussion. So like
That's
something
neuroplasticity.
that's a neuroplasticity.
Right. So crystallized intelligence, which increases over time as you get older, right? You have crystallized intelligence.
Well,
Can't that be disrupted through neuroplasticity?
Yeah.
it doesn't diminish over time, which is why it's called crystallized.
Yeah. So it's just
fixed.
yes,
It's fixed.
It's
Yes.
fixed at that
But it
point.
doesn't
Just
diminish
half
over
versus
time.
growth.
But as you get older, there's other IQ that decreases, but the crystallized IQ stays.
So
One of the things whenever I'm at
Queuing up
jiu-jitsu,
Q&A.
right? So whenever I go to jits and there's guys at over 40 that show up as white belts, I'm always like, dude, I'm so proud that you're here. I'm so stoked for you. And the reason being is you've made like the first step to destroying the crystallization neuroplasticity by humbling yourself and being a white belt. And there was a dude in there the other day who'd just come in. It might have been his second or third.
You're destroying or desoying.
Yeah.
The way is good.
He was actually just getting fucking murdered. And he's like, I need to get in shape. And I'm like, dude, you are so far ahead of everybody else. The fact that you showed up humbles yourself and walk through the door and can actually realize it, dude, you are going to be. And then the crazy part is then all of a sudden there's like a whole bunch of dudes that are like, you did a great job. And all of a sudden I'm like, and you just made 25 new friends.
Yeah, that's right.
That literally will go walk across the street into traffic.
You have a community now that you were a part of.
Again,
what does that
so
do to your emotional state?
Tribe is everything.
Yep.
And the hardest thing about you leaving, because there's so many analogies here between us leaving
Identity
our
crisis.
profession. Well, it's part of your DNA, and it's the greatest support network.
But there's a huge problem with this. You guys, for the most part, I bet you within 80% certainty, really cherish your brothers. And more importantly, like the guys that you worked with are your lifelong friends. I don't know if I would pull over to help some of my teammates and the guys I played in the NFL. If their car was broken down on the side of the road, I would have just stepped on the accelerator and ran back. Okay. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. But you guys are 3 former Navy SEALs that are all sitting around, and I'm a single NFL player. There's not another NFL player in the
No,
state.
John, you make a good point.
Other than Nick Hardwick, who I found a kindred spirit in, and I want to try to pull him closer in and do more stuff with him. Because
bring him on the show.
Yeah, we will. He's great.
Yeah, guys, we were talking to Nick Hardwick, and they're like, "Here's the phone, Nick Hardwick." I'm like,
"Yeah,
hello?
he's
He has his own podcast.
Yeah, he's a podcaster, but he's incredible, right? Like, so it's rare that I come across other NFL players that I'm like, dude, and I even told him today, I'm like, dude, you're kicking ass. I like observed, and I basically did like an AAR of all the stuff he's doing. And I'm like, yo, man, like, here's how I think you can move forward. Here's how you can improve it. And I'm more than happy to like anything you want. But a lot of the guys, like, if they called me, I'd be like, right, just because fixed mindset, lack of growth, victim mentality.
Who you surround yourself with,
which is the poor me. And I'm like, fuck, dude. I just like, especially with the brain injury stuff. Like,
That's interesting.
I got a bad brain. I took these hits to the head. No, you can fix that.
That's
shit.
victimhood.
You can fix it.
Yeah.
I showed you. You can fix it.
Yeah. We've got to move on to 3 questions. God damn it. Kirk and John, beginning, middle, end. You guys are just fucking insane.
We are about
the rhetoric, just the patches and rhetoric comes.
I have 700 podcasts under my belt, not even counting the ones that I do for other people. I've done 700 of my own. So I come on this thing, I get on the bike, and it's just like, bro.
I love it. You guys give them so much energy. Okay, Will, what is it? And speak. You didn't set yourself up with the mic. You didn't solve that problem. Okay. So you're basically saying I need to buy another road with more. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
No. You're gonna come over to the microphone. There you go. Yeah.
God damn it.
It's an accordion.
All right. So, what is a daily practice we can do to work on our spiritual wellness?
Let me answer that.
You got it. I wrote about this in the book as well. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you've written about it. I coach on it. I'm passionate about it. Adding a spiritual practice has completely changed my life. So years ago, I was totally burned out, but I was optimized physically. I was optimized intellectually. I was getting great sleep. I was eating awesome food. I drank very little alcohol. Still was burned out. Didn't have the energy that I thought that I could have. So I went deeper on learning about the human condition. I discovered emotionality and spirituality. And these things changed the fucking game for me. It took me from where I thought I was a high performer to something that is on a different level. And now, I don't have hate for people anymore. I'm filled with love. I'm filled with respect. I wake up, my default is gratitude. When I wake up in the morning, I'm just thankful to be here. That wasn't the case years ago. So
Gratitude. So big time.
Gratitude is a
people are like,
spiritual
oh
practice.
yeah, we hear that. No, it matters.
30 seconds of being,
which is to say
being grateful.
positivity. People who are positive live 7.5 years longer than people that are either mild or negative.
You always have a choice. Are you going to respond to this thing in a positive way or a negative way? It's always your choice. I
Stoicism
don't
is
care
great. Yeah.
how fucking terrible it was. Someone you love died. Yeah, that sucks ass. Have the fortitude and the courage to find some nugget of beauty in that event and choose to focus on that.
Let me just add, here's
Yeah,
the
add
only
on.
thing
We
that's
can go all
obvious.
day. This is great.
So I call this the challenge. On Friday night, you close your social media apps, you turn off the notifications, and you focus on your loved ones, whether it's your wife, your kid, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend, and then find nature. Find nature.
100%, dude.
Like, I'm a Catholic, was born and raised Catholic. Usually I have got 3 finger rosaries around my neck. It's now hanging on a thing, but That's a good story behind that one. We'll tell it later. We don't have time, but unplug. And I find nature is next to godliness. Like even if, well, in Austin, we don't have much. Let's be honest. Like I'm used to mountains. You're used to California mountains.
There's great green belts, great
Great,
rivers.
great green belts.
Yeah.
Just go for a walk and breathe. And while you're walking,
Leave your phone in your car.
Yes. And why the fuck are you laughing at me?
You're talking about your boyfriend. I didn't know you'd come out yet.
I just can't believe how red faced you are, Doc. Like,
That's from this.
I know.
Oh,
yeah.
Jordan, she's like, is that self tanner or is that like? I'm like, I don't know if he runs hot. Whatever.
Well,
Doc's just runs hot. He's
so
coming in hot.
So I'm half Irish, so this
Yeah.
flushed me out and then
And
that
then
flushed
this-
me out. Like I
NAD does
felt
that.
like I'm sitting in the sun the whole time.
Let me add one more thing.
Yeah.
So I got this challenge with my kids. I'll take them on the same walk in the neighborhood. We live in the country here in Austin. And their job is to identify one natural thing on the same walk that we went on this morning or yesterday that they didn't see yesterday. So it might be a rock, it might be a flower, it might be a tree branch, whatever. So it gets them just focused on nature. I do the same thing for myself. It's really an awesome spiritual practice.
So 30 minutes of dog walks for my wife and I with the dogs, even though you're walking down 6th Street, which is not the bar part, but the fact that you're just walking and breathing and focus, like whatever you do, focus on breathing. And Huberman talks a lot about that, but let's move on to the next question. Yeah, come on. Because you haven't, this is embarrassing.
Fucking problem. It's a question for Doc, maybe for John as well. But how should we be tracking protein amino acids for optimization?
Oh, I know.
Macro, just
I
watch
mean,
macros.
I mean, you 2 grams of protein.
That's high.
I like
I thought it was 1 gram. Per
1
per
gram
pound.
of protein per pound of body weight.
It's
Well, I was
minimum.
gonna say per kilo.
Per
So it's the
kilo, it's the
same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
I just track it basically whatever I weigh. My body weight's how much protein I eat.
But so is the bottom line track your macros? Use what like RP,
Well,
RP
approximate.
fitness
Well, so like the only macro I count is protein.
because people so often don't get enough.
It's so
protein.
hard to get
Well,
enough
no,
if you don't think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I find if I eat enough protein, I get enough fat, and then like carbs are kind of based around like how I feel. So like I really like apples. Like, I don't know why it is. I just like the crunchiness of an apple. It like appeals to me. So like post workout,
They're kind of like a horse.
I love them. So like I'll eat like an apple, but like I also like last night we had some rice. Like I'm not like, oh, I need to get 600 grams of carbohydrates. Like I kind of like eat carbs until I feel like I ate enough. And if I feel tired, I eat some more. If I know I'm going to train, like I'm not super over the top, but like I am, I'm not going to use the word Nazi, but like, cause we kind of use that in
Just
a way,
did.
but like I am very regimented on, I have a certain amount of protein I need to consume. And it's the only thing I count as proteins.
When I was at 7%, and you hear all these things about people competing, reverse dieting, carb loading. Like I didn't do any of that. I simply had consistency at a certain caloric macro level, and I worked out and I maintained it. And most of all, I didn't drink alcohol for like 7 months, and that was the
That was a
godsend.
game
It's
changer, huh?
like consistency.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to be sub 10% body fat, alcohol, like, okay, so the way I look at it is like, let's say you have like, this is your fun in life. For every percentage of body fat I go down, the fun just keeps shrinking. And when I got down to like 7% at like, I think it was 268 at sub 7%, I had zero fun in my life. I was, we went to a bar or we went to a party and they had tacos, and I sat there and drank cold water and was eating ice cubes. Yeah. And everybody was over there smashing tacos, having a great time. And I was like, I'm going to eat these ice cubes. So like my fun goes to the zero where all of a sudden now you don't get to drink alcohol. You don't get to have tacos and this. So then I talk to people like, oh, I want to be sub 10% body fat. I'm like, are you okay not to have tacos? What about a beer? What if your friend wants to have a margarita?
Well, the more important question is for how long and why, right? Because like, do you want to be 7% all the time? All right, your life's going to suck.
Your life's gonna suck.
Like the rest of your life
And then
sucks.
especially spiritual,
it's really
emotional,
But
mental.
it's like, do you want to get 7% for a goal? Like for one day for a photo shoot or going on the stage or whatever, like
But
that's a
if-
different story. It's a
But I
different
mean,
story,
if you weigh 100, if you're a dude, and you weigh 150 pounds, it's not real hard to maintain sub 10% body fat. Now, if you wanted to be 260 pounds, sub 10% body fat,
like me.
or,
Yeah.
like just like
150
that,
pounds
there
for
is
that, yeah.
literally, I have to, for me to be, so when we did a money challenge years ago, and like I ended up at like 268 sub 7%. I had to track every single thing I ate. It was
You
like
you're doing keto then, right? Is that when you're drinking
no.
olive oil out of the bottle?
Whoa, no, that was another time. But we were doing carb cycling. We were doing carb cycling.
Yeah.
So it was Mauro de Pasquale's anabolic diet.
Yeah,
was
the
one I
anabolic diet.
tested.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it was high protein, moderate fat, and then we do these carb refeeds. So I would make 12 pancakes and I would cover them in syrup, and I would sit and I would eat these pancakes, and then I would just sit there and I would sweat
Swell
so bad.
like the Hulk.
Oh yeah, all of a sudden it'd be like, and I would just watch myself fill up.
I'm kidding.
And like the carbs would like pack, and like all of a sudden you could see veins.
Wow.
And everything and then I would basically carb deplete for 6 days, and then I would have these reload meals.
That just doesn't sound fun
No, it's really shitty.
Or healthy.
or
Right? Is that bad for the body?
I don't know if it's healthy,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was in great shape, and I was super strong, and it was good. But it just became, and then it was funny. We finished, and then I took my kids and my family to Hawaii, and we went and like I took
you
my
look
kids
great.
for like
You're like,
sushi. Yeah,
yeah.
it was great.
Yeah.
We went and got sushi. We did all this stuff, and I remember like the lady came over. She's like, "Do you guys want drinks?" And I was like, "Fuck it, let's have
Do I
drinks."
look like I drink?
And I had like one Mai Tai, and I was so smashed. I was like, "Oh God."
So
But I think to answer this guy,
Yeah.
your gal's question, it probably just aim for,
1 gram.
actual like eat actual meat. If you're not a meat eater,
So
then
the
I don't
only
know what to tell you.
proteins I count
Pea
are
protein
ones
is
with
what I do.
faces and a soul in them.
right, yeah.
If it has a face and a soul and mother, it's a protein. I don't count pea
And
protein.
do
or any
about
other stuff.
do about a gram of protein per day.
Yep.
minimum, minimum
Yeah,
per
and it-
pound of
per-
lean body mass.
no,
Per pound of body weight.
for total
Per
body.
pound of body weight.
Per pound of body weight.
Yeah. So
I've heard-
what-
I've heard
no,
other
no,
experts
what,
say-
what you're
no.
talking about is minimal. So if you look at your lean
So
body
if I'm
mass,
200, I should.
Make it simple on yourself.
Yeah.
If you
Some
weigh
people
200,
are like, no, that's wrong.
they're wrong. 100% they're wrong.
no,
I will believe you over
Yeah,
them.
I will
minimum
gladly
is-
go fight them any day. On that
Let's
one.
bring on somebody that just
the-
totally.
the minimum is based off of lean body mass. If you want to be healthy and possibly grow and perform, like you base it off of
So one is
body
maintenance,
weight.
one is
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
That's growth.
One more, and then last thoughts from everyone. It's like what was it? Deep thoughts from Jack Andy.
Mm.
That's what we're gonna do.
You're good enough.
Embarrassing. Well,
Yeah.
I fucking do. Come on.
Any tips to get started journaling? Is what I was-
Yeah, there's an infinite number of methodologies you can apply for journaling. I've tried several. It depends on what you're into. The point is, there's shit that is stacked up inside of you that we haven't been taught as a society how to get out. When you start just writing verbal or intellectual vomit, those things come out and they get onto a page. And what that does is it clears that shit out of your system. And now when you show up to work or you show up to a relationship, you don't have that thing weighing you down because you've put it onto paper. You've cleared that out of your system. And now you're free to think and feel in a better, healthier way. So the approach I use to journaling has evolved over time. I used to use something from The Artist's Way, book written by Julia Cameron, which is phenomenal. It's basically you write whatever the fuck comes out of your brain for 20 minutes solid every morning. That was cool for me because I started writing poems and songs out of nowhere after about 2 weeks of doing that protocol. It takes a lot of time. Then I learned from the actor Hugh Jackman, who I like a lot. He's got a really cool protocol.
So hot. So hot.
He's very hot. In the morning, he writes a sentence or two as if he's evaluating the day at the end of the day. He's like, today I showed a lot of love to my friends. I called my parents. I ate healthy. I worked out. I meditated, blah, 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 blah. Then at the end of the day, he goes back and reads what he wrote at 5 a.m, gives himself a grade, and then adds some comments.
I like that.
Oh,
I like
It's a
that.
great, it's my favorite way to journal now. So that's what I do.
So whatever you do, make sure that you lock up those journals because you could be certifiable at the end. So I do like, I call it morning affirmations, like, hey, this is what I will do today. And then evening reflections, which is similar to what we follow in the military. We call it an after action review. Some people call it the art of the debrief. Is more importantly, what did I do today? What was planned? What went according to that plan? What did I do well? Let's do more of that. But more importantly, what did I learn or do poorly? How am I going to fix it tomorrow? I think it's a combination of those. If you get your feelings out there, just make sure that they're locked up. We all know, I think you said about whose diary got the Biden's.
Biden's
Ashley
daughter.
Biden's daughter.
Yeah, let's
okay.
make sure those are locked up in a
Yeah.
safe place, or people would probably think we're certifiable. But guys, last thoughts for today, something you learned from today, something you want to reinforce.
I think the journaling, what he's talking about, is really interesting. I don't want to belabor the point, but like when I was in college, I was a rhetoric major. I was really stuck into this idea, like, like why the Stoics existed. And it's because, the old gods had died and the new God hadn't been born. So there was this period in history, about 200 years, where we didn't really have religion because Jesus Christ, like a cult religion, hadn't exploded and like nobody had faith anymore. So like we looked at upon ourselves. So I always go back and read like some passages of like different Stoic stuff. And I know it sounds super fucking cheesy. In this world.
No.
It's not cheesy at all.
No, Stoics are. I think it's reemerging in a lot of ways.
Well,
and I want to say, what's Ryan
Holiday?
Holiday?
I
has-
read
That's
all
local, by
that
the way.
like as a rhetoric major. I read all that stuff in college, and I was always impacted by like the magnitude of some of these statements. And so what I'll do is I usually pick a quote or just a statement, and I'll write on it. And like the
Nice.
one that and they don't have to be the Stoics. My wife sent me one, which is don't ever apologize for raising dragon slayers in a time where there are real dragons flying.
Mm.
And no, and it's not attributed to anybody. And I did a post about it, but I thought it was great because I think that there's like this fear for people. And I like when I see the kids at jujitsu or I raise my own kids, I always like, and I talk to my coaches or even the guys that we do jits with, like, hey, remember we're raising dragon slayers because we're going to have to prepare them for the dragons that they don't see. And so like that, like quote, I'll go and I'll write about that and I reflect. And so my stuff has to usually start with a statement that I think is impactful for that moment. And I don't do it every day, but something comes up and I see it. And I'm like, oh shit, I need to write about this.
Let me say something. And I've heard this. And again, Sean Thompson. And actually, there's a great guy, Dan Rooney, who's the founder of Folds of Honor, an amazing dude, pro golfer, F-18 pilot. Like the dude emaciates me in a lot of ways. He's a good dude. I believe I can. And then ultimately, when you say I will, that commits to accountability.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is Sean Thompson's surfer's code, but he also has a type like I will never turn my back on the ocean - persistence. Like he's got a leadership trait attached.
Also
to
was
each of
in
them.
the movie North Shore.
So that's
He's the man. I do.
Do you remember North Shore?
No.
Are you
Of
kidding?
course.
Rick Kane?
Oh, dude.
Are you kidding? Turtle?
Arizona.
Nobody
Yeah.
works. Yeah. No, dude,
I'm sorry. Famous Surfer is the antagonist in it.
it's
Hamilton?
it's Laird Hamilton,
Laird
but he's
Hamilton,
playing
yeah.
Lance Burkhardt.
Yes. One of the greatest
And then
movies.
Chandler, the fucking soul surfer. Dude, are you
What's
kidding
the
me?
beautiful Hawaiian actress?
Yeah.
Was like, yeah, everyone had a crush. Judd.
Yeah, something stuck with me is something that Brent said when I asked him that question. His first response was something along the lines of, "We know who we are, or we know who we are."
Yeah.
And the more I study high performing people that I really admire, the more I meet people that are just awesome fucking people, the more I realize the thing that separates the top 1% of the top 1%, it's not IQ, it's not physical prowess, it's not money, it's that authenticity. And so his answer just resonated because the more I study these people, the more I understand the thing that's going to take you to the very, very top is when you figure out who the fuck you are as a human being and you have the courage to embrace that and charge forward.
It's I call that your North Star. And when
Yeah.
you know your North Star, maybe you may go 3 degrees off to the left, to the right, but it's like handrails that no matter the situation, you can try to get me to violate my principles in life. It's not going to happen.
That's right.
Yeah, I also call that moral courage. What's up, dude? What do you got?
Wasn't directly said, but kind of an amalgamation of a lot of conversation we had today. I reflected. I think Jordan Peterson maybe said, if you can't write, if you don't write, you can never express your thoughts clearly.
Yeah.
And as we had that little conversation about that, it made me realize that in the last several years, I've quit writing my content and everything is video now, and video that's being transcribed and written for me. And I feel like I've lost my ability to express myself succinctly. So it's something I'm going to put myself back to, whether it's for public consumption or not, it doesn't really matter. But I think I like that.
Mine is not on the show. Go ahead.
Just to add on real quick.
Yeah.
I took a masterclass this week actually in Austin. It's taught by this guy named Pete Sheehan, who's this really brilliant speaker and advisor. And the whole masterclass was on defining and codifying the shit that you believe. And he opened with, most people who are either thought leaders or writers or speakers or consultants, they don't know how to talk about the things that they know. And so the whole masterclass was on, let's just take one of your ideas that you believe in. One of the things that you tell people, you should have a spiritual practice.
I'm joining this group. I know
Nerd out on it.
Yeah, where
nerd the fuck out.
Where are these master classes through UT?
I'll send it to you. It's through a group called Impact 11. That it's a community that I joined last year.
So, do you do a lot of keynote speaking?
I do. I have a couple events coming up. I'm doing one for the military in May, and then I'm doing another gig in Montana. So I'm not necessarily like I'm fine in the keynote, but I love speaking in front of people. It's one of the things that I really enjoy doing.
Same here.
But I am constantly in this idea of like sharpening your blade and betterment. Yeah. And I think what happens is we get stuck in our own echo chambers where you're like, oh, this, and you try to read and all this. And then I went to a marketing event, and I'm not a marketing person by any means. But the reason I went was because my friend who I went on a motorcycle ride, it was his event. So he asked me to come. And I was so impressed with how he presented himself, how he worked the audience in the room, and like the structure and the mechanics. I left there and I was like, yo, man, like I could not be more impressed with you as a human. The information was great, but like how you arranged it, how you were able to work with people, and fucking masterful. I mean, I haven't seen anybody do that since maybe a Tony Robbins. That's how good George was.
People make fun of Tony Robbins. That guy's the GOAT.
He's great.
He's phenomenal.
I have a good story. I'll tell the Tony Robbins story later.
Changed a lot of people's lives.
He's fucking amazing. Like I've never met anybody that can actually connect with a human being as fast as that dude did. I met him, and within 5 minutes, I bought a $5,000 watch, and he tried to give me his dog.
He's good. So I really have 3 points.
Let's have him on.
Jamie Little. We'll post the pictures. Jamie Little came on the podcast before we all came on. NASCAR reporter. She was awesome, warrior, just awesome person. 2, that my tricep is more defined than John. Clearly, I mean, yeah, he's got mass, but you see this striation. That just so we'll let the audience, which we know that's going to be me. And 2, you talked about iron sharpens iron. Yeah. Proverbs 27:17 is one.
Iron sharpens iron is one man sharpens another.
And I really do feel fortunate that I can sharpen your guys' blades, and I'm here to do that for you all. I mean,
that's your defining feature, just carrying us all on your back.
No, hey, 2 things. I think psychedelics. I want to hit that next go around. I do want to hit fasting because there's so much bad fucking information out there. Yeah, save it. And then stoicism. Let's see if we can get Ryan Holiday to come in.
I'd love to.
Because stoicism has one, he's taken it to the forefront. Yeah. There's so many great things that people need to understand from a mental standpoint of like, stop watching the news and losing your shit. Focus on what you can control. Dismiss what you can't.
Well, there is not 24 hours of news, even though we have a 24-hour news cycle.
What I love is, so like the basics of understanding, like at least for my rhetoric major in college, like started with like the Cynics and the Stoics, and we went through and looked at these different periods, and like ended in existentialism. Yes. And like Jordan Peterson gives a great talk about existentialism and Dostoevsky and the books he wrote, and like Crime and Punishment, and Raskolnikov, and all these things that I was forced to have read in college because we had to discuss the Socratic method. So if you didn't fucking get your shit done, they just booted you out of class, and if you got you weren't here today. So I don't know if I would have read all this stuff if I wasn't forced to read it. But now, years later, I'm appreciative. It's Jordan Peterson's talking about Raskolnikov and this and all. Like I read this book and I discussed it intimately at fucking nauseum in class. And so like so when I hear people talk about the Stoics and Marcus Aurelius and Meditations and all the other pieces in Seneca, like I legitimately had to like write papers and work on this. So it's very personal to me in that way. So it's neat, but yet I don't know if in hindsight I would have gone back and read any of this shit. Yes. And so it's a nice progression of thought.
So, guys, you can find John at powerathlete.com, Justin Kaufman at JudsonKaufman.com. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. Or on Instagram, just Judson _
mine's at John Welbourn. If you put in Power Athlete, you find me.
And then Kirk Parsley, the same Instagram, also Doc Parsley Sleep Aids. Trust me, try it for 30 days. You will not regret it. And then you can find me at Men's Journal, Everyday Warrior. Guys, we appreciate you for joining. Like I said, next Friday, let's focus on psychedelics. That will be a good discussion. We'll see if we can get Dr. Martin Poblanco in here or. Okay, we've got some others.
There's a lot of guys.
Yeah. And let's make so we will make the Shinedown tour happen.
Yeah,
Let's
let's do
let's go have fun with our wives. The wives won't join for the workout because they'll annoy me. Right on. Cool. All right, guys. Have a good Friday. Shut the cell phone down. Try that tonight. Shut it down.
Turn it
Pick
off.
it back up on Sunday evening. You'd be surprised how just game changing that is. All right, we're out here.